Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chud Watch. How are you doing? I hope you're all doing well. Look at my awesome Christmas sweater. Yeah, you should be jealous. Be jealous of my awesome Christmas sweater. I got another one too, hold on. This one lights up. Let me actually get the Switch. It's really cool, and it was the right size. I was surprised. So that's good. How's everyone doing? You can see for the holidays. I also changed this light, so now they can do this. So that's cool. Alright, what was I doing? This one? I think? I do have a ring light coming in, so the lighting's a little fucked up right now because it used to be very front, and now that I have top lights again, it's unbalanced. Tomorrow I have a cheap ring light coming in, so today the lighting will be a little weird on my face. Maybe a little shadowy compared to usual. Or just ineffably weird, if you don't know about lighting. So either way, tomorrow that should be better. But that's why it's a little weird today, in case you're wondering. We are on a hype train, 55% to level 1. Thank you very much. I'll get to those in a second. How's everyone on YouTube doing? I hope you're having a good one. Hope you're all having a good Friday. And if you are on YouTube, maybe give the stream a like. I'd appreciate it. There you go. That's so good. This was the best purchase I've made in my life. This is fantastic. Oh. Anyway, don't you wish I was your weird aunt? I bet you do. So, let's see what I've been missing, shall we? Have I seen Greg Locke versus the Flat Earther? Not yet. I plan on that being the main event of Tinfoil Tuesday next Tuesday. Unless I get bored and it comes up before that. It would kind of fit today, I guess. Greg Locke's a chud. I could do that, but then am I cheating people out of a Chud Watch video? I don't know. I don't know the rules. I just make them. Alright. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's go up and see what I have been missing so far. DM Trey says, "Hey Hannah in chat, just wanted to take a moment to congratulate my amazing partner for getting into a top choice school. She's amazing." That's great. Congratulations to her. That's awesome. And Punky Gal, I saw you got into the doctor you wanted too. That's awesome. I know how stressful that can be finding a good doctor for stuff, so I'm really glad. Bay Cop with 33 months says, numerology on the bingo card. Jules Kersler with 23 months. Thank you very much. And Nope Nopey Nope, thanks for 17 months. Says beep boop. Bumble Homestead, thanks for 200 bits. Humiliated Grapes, thanks for gifting a sub to Pastel Dyke. Aaliyah Explores, thanks for gifting a sub. And Fenigami with 50 bits says, I feel like a bad advocate. I got into a discussion with a coworker about how words can hurt people, and my coworker took the stance that comedy is in danger from people's sensitivity. It's weird because this same guy reported a customer as a KKK-style racist so that the customer's contract could be canceled, since 90% of our coworkers are black. But I unfortunately lacked the rhetorical skills to explain to him why he's wrong. The best I could do was explain that he's missing nuance. I guess I would say that usually when I see anyone who's a comedian or an alleged comedian say that wokeness has ruined comedy, what they really mean is material that was funny in the 90s isn't funny anymore. Like, this is even if you don't want to broach the moral subject, because that is complicated and nuanced. I would go the more practical route with someone like this. I would say, usually people who say this are people like Tim Allen or Rob Schneider, who haven't updated their act in decades, people like Roseanne Barr, who aren't funny, and the only jokes they know are, haha, women are terrible, right? Haha, ha, ha, isn't woke bad? Trans people funny, gay people funny. Like, that's, outside of just how hurtful it is to a lot of people, it's just played out. Like, Ace Ventura's, like, big ending was a trans, like, joke in the 90s. The 90s were like 30 years ago. Like, the mid-90s were 30 years ago. I would just say, you know, hey, even if you don't care about the hurtful thing, which they should, and that's a different discussion, pragmatically, why you trying to white knight over bad comedy that went out of date with the millennium? Move that over a little bit. What else? And that catches us up. 34% to level 2 on the hype train. See if that can keep going. And let's check out YouTube. How's everyone doing over here? Jack Johnson, how you doing? Engineer Cow, Michael Angel. I like that. Hello, Garth Wormington. You heard working with Tim Allen is awful? Yes, there was the recent article about that. It doesn't surprise me. Like, even outside of the Chud stuff, he just seems like a bummer. Like, he seems like he hates everything and hates his life and career and hates the world and he's really bitter. And that's not fun to be around. Like, it was kind of funny in the 90s, him as Santa, especially just in that first movie, because, you know, he was that character at the beginning. He was Scott Calvin, who was jaded and cynical and like a piece of shit, and then by the end of the movie, he was able to amazingly act like a good person, which is probably the best performance in cinema history based on how Tim Allen is in real life. But then as the sequels to the Santa Claus movies continued, and now the TV show that the article you were talking about is based on, it's like they forgot that at the end of the first movie he stopped being an asshole and stopped being like, you know, Tim Allen and started acting like a more traditional Santa who's jolly and happy and loves the world. And now it's just like, no, he's the asshole from the first movie again, and this whole time, And he just basically took his human problems and made them everyone's problems because now he's a mystical creature. Very weird. Those are my opinions on the Santa Claus lore. 40 seconds left on the hype train, 36% to level 2. Jen Graham says, random fact inspired by a name in Twitch chat, my great-uncle, Elias, Arucaria, wrote crosswords for the same newspaper basically up until his death from cancer. That always seemed like an interesting job, people who do the crosswords. Like, that's gotta be difficult to write them, you know? And make them interesting, you know? I'm not a huge crossword person, so I don't know the criteria for a good versus bad one. But, I don't know, even as a trivia person, I don't know if I could sit there daily or weekly and make a new crossword for years and years and years. It's cool. Thanks for the level 1 hype. H-Baird says, a lot of this Gen X type of humor, which was a rejection of the way boomers would fake earnestness and pretend that minorities didn't exist. That's why 90s sitcoms tend to be about awful people not learning anything. That's not the first time to do it. That happened in the 70s, too. The prototypical sitcom of that nature is Archie Bunker in All in the Family. He's an asshole every episode, but you're supposed to not like him. The problem is, people don't get satire a lot of the time. So instead, people just, you know, bigots like Archie Bunker. My dad likes Archie Bunker, liked him at least when I used to talk to him. And he did not like him because, like, oh, you know, he ended up learning his lesson at the end of episodes. No, he just liked being an asshole and doesn't get that Archie Bunker isn't aspirational. Oh, Kevin Can Fuck Himself is a good show. I wish it hadn't gotten canceled so soon. It was supposed to run 5 seasons, and it only ended up running 2, which was a bummer, because I loved that premise. For those who didn't see that show, the premise was, it was a show told in 2 perspectives, basically, played with meta stuff. It was too meta, see, that's what I liked about it. When it was from the wife's perspective, it was shot like almost like a Breaking Bad, Sopranos-esque drama, where she wants to kill her husband because he's such a monster and an abusive piece of shit. But then when it switches to the husband's perspective and everyone else, it's like a 3-camera sitcom with flat angles and flat lighting, and there's a laugh track. So it's very much about how, like, an abusive situation to the abuser sure feels great. He doesn't give a shit. The world is going perfect for him. Everyone thinks he's funny and charming and blah, 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 blah. But of course, to her, it's a nightmare. I don't know. It was interesting. I liked it. I get that it was maybe a little challenging or just off-putting to some people because it aired on AMC, but I don't know. I dug it. Anyway, let's see. What are we going to do first? Lasted 2 seasons. Let's do Ben Shapiro first. So I don't know if you guys saw, but the Pope recently put out a thing that said, like, hey, Catholic churches, you know how I'm the Pope and I talk to God? Because that's literally part of the doctrine, and you believe I talk to God? And what I say is, like, the word of God, based on how our, you know, stuff works? You can baptize gay people. That's cool. So, conservative Catholics and Ben Shapiro, who's not a Catholic or a Christian, has intense opinions on this. Interestingly enough. Spongy Lord says, bits are working again. I had to clear my browsing cache for some reason. Very strange. F the Pope? That's completely reasonable. That's one of my favorite, oh, why am I blanking on his name? He wrote the Matilda musical and the Groundhog's Day musical. He's done really great specials. What? Tim something? Tim Mincham. That's him. He has a really funny song about the Pope.
Well, folks, you might think that the Pope is interested
Well, folks, you might think. Oh, God.
in eternal values. It turns out he really just doesn't like coal very much. And when it comes to the internet...
Oh, wait, was this one more about the climate change thing? Ben, do you know that in the Bible, God says, like, it's humans' job to take care of the earth? I'm not even religious, and I know that. Like, we should be good stewards of the earth if you believe in that version of God, right? No? Let's just smoke it out? Cool.
National left. Not only is there no morality, there's no actual realism about the world. That's true.
No morality. Did you know that if you don't agree with Ben's morality, and your morality includes acceptance of LGBT people, that you have no morality. Ben gets to decide that.
On virtually every topic. When it comes to foreign policy, there's no realism because the assumption is that if the West simply goes hands off, the world will be a better place, which of course is a lie. And then when it comes to things like environmental policy, like the world...
I think typically when we're talking about international policy, they don't want us spending money in places where innocent people are getting killed regularly as like a cost of doing business. I think that's usually what people are talking about.
To be super hands-on. We're going to get involved imperialistically with stopping developing nations from developing their own economies. And we're going to lecture them like a lot. So we're not going to focus on the things that actually make a person moral. Instead, we are going to, quote unquote, heal the earth by telling poor people that they're not allowed to use carbon-based fossil fuels, the most efficient fuels known to mankind.
The most efficient? Okay, the thing about that efficiency, though, is it comes at the cost of continuing to pump ridiculous amounts of like, why am I blanking today? God damn, I'm nailing it. Ever since I dropped caffeine, my brain hasn't been working as quickly. Greenhouse gases. It comes at the cost of continually pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere that continually will heat the Earth until it is inhospitable for humans and everything else. And if the ecosystem collapses, that's not good for anyone in the ecosystem. We're in it, so that would be bad. I understand that there's actually discussions to be had, by the way, in terms of, hey, like the United States and the UK and other nations were allowed to have this growth, unlimited growth through fossil fuel, and no one did anything to stop them. So is it fair to go to developing nations and try and put limitations that might hinder their growth in order to try and slow climate change, when in reality, the onus should be on the United States, the UK, Europe, China, you know, big polluters and people who are the reason the polluting is happening. I see a lot of people on the right being like, we shouldn't do anything about climate change. This should be on China because they're the biggest polluters. But then you look at the actual numbers of the pollution, and so much of it is for international manufacturing for export. Like, literally, the reason China does so much, like, greenhouse gases and stuff is because they are producing things at an astounding level for the rest of the world, consumer products. So that's one of the reasons. It's happening in China, but we are paying for it collectively. And I don't mean you individually, I mean American businesses and all that stuff. But I guess none of that matters because Ben Shapiro thinks, fuck it, none of it matters anyway, even though it does. But it is fair to point out, I just want to say, like, what do we do about this? Like, we were able to have economic growth and societal growth due to the irresponsible use of these fuels. Is it fair to put any of the responsibility on other developing nations when it's really on us? I think really the thing here is you should just be putting money into renewables, which I think we are working on, is trying to, for foreign aid things, help develop systems, help develop infrastructure that is green from the outset, as opposed to just being like, no, you can't do this. Be like, hey, let's not start your infrastructure the way we did and make the same mistakes. We will give you money or subsidies in order to start it green.
A perfect example of this sort of moral...
Oh, H-Beard says, most efficient fuel isn't even close. Let's see. Fuel energy density, sugar, coal, fat, gasoline, uranium. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm in favor of nuclear energy.
Disconnect, unfortunately, is Pope Francis. So Pope Francis, I've been very critical of Pope Francis, of course. I don't have a particular dog in the Catholic fight, except that I believe the
Harold Elbelman with 28 months says, 28 months, thank you as always for everything. Thank you for continuing to watch.
Catholic Church is strongest and best for Western civilization when it holds to some semblance of traditional values. So 2 stories from the Vatican over the course of the weekend. 1, Pope Francis did take action against one of his biggest critics, according to The Blaze. This is the second time this month Pope Francis punished an American prelate. Pope Francis punished Cardinal Raymond Burke, 75-year-old canon lawyer from Wisconsin. He revoked Burke's salary and his subsidized Vatican apartment. He was living like other cardinals in Rome in his apartment for free. He received a monthly stipend of about $5,000. He said that he was taking action against Burke because he was a source of disunity, according to an anonymous participant in a particular conversation on November 20th. Another unnamed source said Francis punished Burke because he was using his privileges against the church. Reports from earlier this week claimed that the Pope said of Burke during the meeting, quote, Cardinal Burke is my enemy, so I take away his apartment and his salary. Francis denies making those comments. I never used the word enemy or the pronoun my. I simply announced the fact of the meeting of the dicastery heads without giving specific explanations. Burke has been very critical of Francis by saying you're focusing on, like, the environment.
I'm always kind of shocked when people have any problem like this from the Pope, and usually it's like right-wing people who are upset at the Pope. The right tends to be the people who are in favor of intensely hierarchical power structures and want power in the hands of few at the top, typically. What do you think this is? The Pope is in charge of the Catholic Church. That's the kind of system you guys often advocate for, is some sort of theocracy or like de facto oligarchy. Like, what do you think this is? Just say you're upset that the Pope did something vaguely progressive. Just say that. That's fine. Marcus Drake says, if it was a country, the U.S. military alone would be the 47th greatest polluter on Earth. Don't worry, though. The Navy has a plan to be carbon neutral by 2050. Well, shit. Oh my god. Spongy Lord says, destroying the entire planet is a traditional value? Yeah, pretty much.
And you don't seem to care at all about the crucial social issues that are dividing the church today. And in many cases, you're being soft on them. That happens to be right, by the way. The Pope...
Ben... It's confusing to me. It's confusing to me that Ben, like... You're not part of the Catholic Church, right? And, like, I'm not either. But I don't think any religion is real, and I talk about things in, like, real-world terms, right? So if I'm talking about, for instance, the various scandals for covering up sexual abuse that have happened within the Catholic Church, that's not talking about, like, ooh, I think that theologically it should be this or that, you know? It's talking about the real world. I don't care necessarily about their beliefs, though I don't think they're true either. I care about what they are doing to other people in the real world, and the effect that they have. Ben here is basically trying to argue Catholicism, and he's not Catholic. Like, what are you doing? That's not for you to say? It's just very strange.
Has been unbelievably soft. What he does, he issues these sort of vague exclamations about, say, LGBTQ issues inside the church, or say about female priests. He doesn't actually cave on them. He just makes really vague statements that seem to open the door. And then when asked for clarification, he says, "Why? How dare you ask for clarification? I was perfectly clear." No, you weren't, or nobody would be asking the questions. That's happening on the one hand. And then on the other hand, you've got the Pope calling for the elimination of fossil fuels, which, by the way, for a church that is seeking new adherents in the poorest parts of the world, it turns out that you know what they actually need? Fossil fuels. I'm sorry to break it to the Pope and everybody else in the environmentalist corner. The single most efficient source of fuel on the planet remains fossil fuels. That's particularly true if you're looking at places like Africa, if you're looking at places like Asia, like South America.
The development of many countries already burdened by grave economic
This is someone giving a
debt
statement for Pope Francis, obviously. He sent a statement to COP28.
Instead, we should consider the footprint of a few nations responsible for a deeply troubling ecological debt towards many others. It would only be fair to find suitable means of remitting the financial debts that burden different peoples. Climate change signals the need for a political change. Let us emerge from the narrowness of self-interest and nationalism. These are approaches belonging to the past. Let us join in embracing an alternative vision. This will help to bring about an ecological conversion.
Ecological conversion. I mean, it seems to me that they should spend more time talking about spiritual conversion. I say this as a Jew.
I think the Catholic Church has spent enough of its history converting people, Ben. Don't you think? Is it a little weird for Ben Shapiro to prefer the Catholic Church to spend its time converting people? I can name several things that are weird about that statement. Bitter old ass broad with $5 says, how could an educated woman stay married to this baby blowhard? I assume she is also a Nepo baby who grew up in a world of rich people and has no idea what the world is like.
And they should be talking about ecological conversion. But
again, like, whether you like it or not, I don't like it. The Vatican is an incredibly powerful, like, institution in the world. I don't know exactly how many Catholics there are in the world, but a lot. Most of them, to one extent or another, respect the Pope. So if the Pope, if the papacy, if the Vatican is saying climate change is real, which it is, by the way, that's a good thing, because then they can use that influence to get that out to other people so they know that and can be used to force political change, which is just what you don't like. You don't like that. And I don't even know at this point, is Ben Shapiro being managed by other people his whole career? Like, does he genuinely not know that climate change is a real thing, or is this strictly a money thing for him? Because I've always wondered, he's grown up, you know, in a rich household that was already in the media sphere and stuff. Like, are there just people around him, like, feeding him information, like, here's the latest climate change stuff, but it's all, like, shit from right-wing think tanks? Is he genuinely this dumb? Or is it all for the money and he doesn't care at all about the consequences of his actions? Because he has kids. You'd think he'd care if he knew it was like a real existential danger to people. Tea with Goblin says, ah yes, the Catholic Church, historically, such an ally to Jewish people. That's what's confusing to me. Yeah. Terradona says, Ben, this line of logic can lead to the Inquisition returning.
Again, this is the new...
That's maybe hyperbolic, but I do find it weird, him being like, they should focus more on conversion.
I say this as a Jew, and they should be talking about ecological conversion. But again, this is the new morality. The new morality is not based on anything remotely like social morality or church.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know much about Judaism as it, you know, exists, and I know that there's plenty of different, you know, beliefs within it. Just like all other religions, there are sects, right? I gotta imagine somewhere in there, there's something in Jewish beliefs about respecting your environment. Not in those words necessarily, but like, hey, take care of, like, the world. Most religions say something to that effect, is like, hey, respect your surroundings. To some extent. Even the Bible does this, you know? And that's like Old Testament stuff. So that's probably related in some way. You'd think I'd know more, wouldn't you? But anyway, like, I don't understand this want or belief that, like, even under your beliefs of religious, like, literalism, that you think that a god would want you to destroy the earth? Seems weird.
Or family. It's based on all these other ancillary issues that build up a bizarre cult-like morality focused on, quote-unquote, saving the earth. With the college football playoff teams being announced yesterday, now would be the perfect time to join Prize Picks. Even if you don't follow college football,
Oh my god, is he doing ad reads for gambling websites? Holy crap. I thought Ben was above that, and I have a very low opinion of Ben, but you're doing gambling website ads? That's a yikes from me.
Picks offers projections on pretty much every sport there is. We're talking NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, PGA, like everything, whatever you are into. Prize Picks is the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. You pick 2 to 6 players. You choose whether they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on a single entry. You don't compete against other people. It's just you versus the projections. Plus, Prize Picks has a reboot policy that keeps your entries in play, even if one of your players gets injured. For NFL games and college football top 25 matchups, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second, that player is rebooted.
So is it a fantasy sports game, not gambling?
Only.
Or both?
Daily fantasy.
Chromatic Cuttlefish, yes, I can turn Ben up. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, the Roman Inquisition quite literally never went away. They just changed the name a couple of times. It's now the Congregation, or rather, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. I would say that when they say the Spanish Inquisition, they're more talking about a very specific span of time where they were doing specific things, the torture and whatnot.
Sports platform with injury insurance. Producer Jake, Bigfoot.
Took 2 seconds to find on Google. Climate change, theology. Human activity is now a major detriment of the weather. This is the overwhelming consensus finding of climate science. The massive emissions from our use of carbon-producing fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution are warming the planet and generating more extreme weather conditions worldwide. But wait a moment, isn't the weather God's department? In traditional Jewish theology, climate conditions are a part of the divine prerogative, most famously in the second paragraph of the Shema. God promises to close up the heavens so that there will be no rain and the land will not yield her fruit, Deuteronomy 11:17, in response to human misdeeds. What are the theological implications of the scientific fact that we humans... I'm sure it's in here. It's just interesting to me. When I appreciate when religious or supernatural belief in general butts up against science and it decides to envelop the science and agree with it. But it is always interesting to me that it always ends up like, how many backflips do we have to do these two things? Again, I'm glad these people are in favor of the science here. It's just like, oh god, I have to read this whole thing that they had to justify to themselves. The Mishnah begins by describing the prayers for rain that are said daily throughout the winter. Goes on to prescribe a series of public fast days of increasing severity in the eventuality that the rains fall, and outlines in detail the rituals of communal fasting, prayer, and penitence to be followed in the event of a full-blown climate catastrophe. It's clear in the Talmud that through divine mediation, the weather is profoundly sensitive to human action. Not only can our fasting and prayer help end drought, but our actions may cause drought. Withholding support to the poor and the Levites, slander, gossip, and neglect of Torah study are among the sins that the rabbis identify as causing the heavens to shut up. Hey, I mean, if this is how they gotta justify it so they believe climate change, I'm cool with it. Do what you gotta do. Kagami says, Ben, most of the Catholics, including the dude Francis kicked out, who agree with you on this, are the same Catholics who think Vatican II was a mistake. I say this as a former Catholic. Also, Ben, stop telling Catholics how their religion works. The only ones who tell you how Judaism works who aren't Jews are anti-Semites.
Football and basketball fan, PrizePicks allows Jake to enjoy his weekends making entries on his favorite players. Jake loves that easy-to-use interface. You can do the same. Go to prizepicks.com/Ben. Use promo code Ben for a first...
We're going to have so many kids growing up with gambling addictions now because of... One sec. Hydrate. Started with things like video game loot boxes and, like, tons of gacha games. And now online gambling is legal. I feel like this is going to result in an epidemic of an entire generation of kids who grow up with severe, crippling gambling addictions. That's not going to be good.
Deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Ben. Promo code Ben for deposit match up to $100. As a Daily Wire listener, you're not just informed, you are engaged. You value freedom and personal responsibility. This is why you need to check out MediShare.
Oh my god, it's multiple ad reads in a row. Oh my god.
MediShare is a community-based approach to healthcare that lines up with the principles you believe in.
What the fuck does that mean? Medical care that lines up with the principles you believe in. The principles I believe in terms of medicine are that it should be science-based and hopefully cure me. What the fuck are you talking about?
Your values matter. With MediShare, your healthcare dollars won't be used for medical procedures that don't line up with your beliefs.
Oh, is it like an insurance company for people who are like, I would get insurance, but hypothetically, some of the money I put into the insurance pool might be used for abortion? Okay, right on. That's weird. Prior Rose says, don't forget Robinhood, getting lots of people involved in day trading, that's not helping either. Oh, no. That and super stonk and meme stonks have also contributed to this problem.
MediShare is the highest rated healthcare sharing ministry.
MediShare is bullshit, it's not actually insurance. I assume you mean in a legal sense? How does it work? Is it more like is it one of those innovative tech companies that basically is innovative because it just breaks regulation and acts as an insurance company? Well, like, wink wink, we're not technically an insurance company, so we don't have oversight from... or they'll claim they don't have oversight from any agency until they get sued.
Ministry with a 30-year proven track record. It's not health insurance. It's a community of 400,000 believers committed to caring and sharing with one another.
Okay. Yeah.
Members save up to 50% or more on their monthly healthcare costs. Member satisfaction surveys show they like MediShare much more than health insurance. Why? Well, because it works. For a limited time, Daily Wire listeners will receive a $150 gift card when they join.
You have to pay for care and then they will pay you, but a lot of times they'll use moral clauses to deny paying charges.
Join MediShare to find
Yikes.
out more. Go to MediShare.com/Ben. That's MediShare.com/Ben. Terms and conditions do
The last few streams, you haven't been able to rewind while you're live. Any chance of getting that feature back? I turned it off because, like, when I've been on Twitch, if something pops up on stream, it isn't immediately accessible to people, and that way I can edit it out if I need to after the stream. If it's enough of a thing, you're not the first person who said that. So clearly people like that feature. I will consider turning it back on, because clearly this is like the 4th time someone has said something to me. So people miss it.
To apply. Again, this is an amazing approach to healthcare that's going to make your life better. It's a community-based approach that lines up with
Is there more content, or is the rest of this video an ad?
the principles you actually like, as opposed to funding a bunch of stuff. Fossil fuel phase out.
Oh my God. Okay, good.
Members
Jesus.
will receive a 100 conditions that line monthly healthcare. Climate chief /Ben. So the UAE
Okay, so like over half this video is ads, right? What the hell?
climate chief Sultan Al Jaber, he said yesterday that the fossil fuel phase out, this thing that's being pushed by the entire international community, is like, this is
It's a good thing, Ben. Like, even if you didn't think climate change was real, which is an uninformed thought, I'm not even going to call it an opinion, because it's not an opinion. It is a scientific fact that climate change is happening, and it is caused by human activity. That is the consensus of climate scientists. Period. End of story. But even if you're delusional and don't, like, agree with that and don't know how science works or whatever, fossil fuels are still a kind of fuel that requires a lot of capital to continue to pursue as a fuel source. The longer we use fossil fuels, the more difficult they get to obtain, and the more expensive it gets to get them. Thus, it's inherently something that's always going to cost more and more money. Like, we need to figure out, all right, what's a sustainable long-term plan? So we have things like solar, right? Nuclear. Wind. I almost went into the airbender opening. Wind. I don't understand this. I have never understood this. It feels like the smoking thing. It feels like people who are like, no, smoking isn't bad for you. Doctors are lying. It feels like that. And it's just bizarre. Spongy Lord says, vis-a-vis the non-insurance company, before I sign off on this insurance claim, did the back problems occur doing anything gay? Marcus Drake says, Medishare applicants must attest that they have not abused legal drugs such as prescriptions or over-the-counter medication or alcohol for at least the 12 months prior to application in order to be eligible for membership. Members must only engage in sexual relations within a biblical marriage. How in the world do you hold that up legally? DM Trey says, it's similar to that. It's like insurance, but before they pay, they investigate the injury to make sure it didn't happen due to any behavior they see as against their followers' beliefs. It's extremely broad and do anything to not pay out. Oh, like a normal insurance company then. So they just made the problem worse. They won't cover your prep. I'm thinking.
It's really dumb and it's not going to work. He happens to be correct.
I'm not in any way signing up to any discussion that is alarmist. I am here factual and I respect the science. And there is no science out there or no
sincere science. What's the difference between sincere science and science you disagree with? Is that you disagree with it? What's sincere science? Fun word to throw in there. Zane says, I have heard this bullshit argument against changing how we produce power longer than you've been alive. Probably true. I'm 29.
Scenario out there that says that the phase out of fossil fuel is what's going to achieve 1.5. 1.5 is my North Star. And a phase down and a phase out of fossil fuel, in my view, is inevitable. It is essential, but we need to be real, serious, and pragmatic about it. I'm sorry.
What do you think is unpragmatic about it?
I do not accept it.
What I see.
I am not accepting this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I respect you, and I do not accept any false accusations. I've been very clear about my position. This is wrong. And you're asking for a phase out of fossil fuel. Please help me, show me a roadmap for a phase out of fossil fuel that will allow that will allow for sustainable socio-economic development. Unless you want to take the world back.
Climate change is bad for socioeconomic development because it can make places in the world inhospitable, which is going to lead to refugee crises that are going to put burdens on places that don't have the infrastructure for a bunch of people to show up randomly. And again, I think in those situations, refugees need to be accepted. That's the moral right thing to do, in particularly because, you know, the effects of climate change are happening because of developed countries continually for over a century pumping greenhouse gases into the air. But, like, it is nonetheless an economic reality that it's going to cost billions of dollars, if that's the kind of thing you care about. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be thrown in the toilet instead of just doing something now, preventative. We're already in the mitigation phase. Like, there's no avoiding issues. We're already having more extreme weather events more often. We are at the phase where we are mitigating. So more than ever, we need to put an emphasis on this when developing new infrastructures so we don't continue to dig a hole for ourselves when we're already trying to pull ourselves out of it.
Into caves.
No.
Show me.
Okay, he is absolutely right about all of that. That
He's not.
would be, of course, the UAE. And he's totally right about all of that. But the West has this bizarre religious vision that if they magically say that fossil fuel...
What is it why do religious people say religious vision as derogatory? Ben, you are religious. Your beliefs are founded and your foundation is religious. Why are you calling something else religious as an insult? It feels... I don't know what it is. It feels defensive. It feels defensive.
Should be phased out, then they will just disappear, and everyone will retain their level of economic development. Or, sotto voce, they won't. Right? Which is what the Sultan is saying there. He's like, well, no. If you do this, then the economy is going to tank, which of course is true.
I care about people's lives more than just the economy. And when you say the economy, here's the difference. When you or I say the economy, we mean, like, you know, the quality of life for people living, working, trying to make money to live, feed their families, have a place to live, maybe have a little money to see a play or watch a movie with their friends or loved ones. When he says the economy, he means, how do we continue to make number go up for rich people? I don't give a shit about that. I think that we can reorient society in a way that we continue to make life better for working people, people in developing economies, developed economies, while also working on climate change. The problem is people at the top continue to hoard power, influence, and money. That's an issue, Ben. But of course, you're rich. Your family's rich. Why do you care? He's the Sultan of Spin, I guess. Fenekagami says, vague post, vague post, vague post, buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Never a real effort to engage with the actual topic. I'm so tired of this crap. I see it all the time with Daily Wire and their audience, and I just don't have the energy to deal with it. It's incredibly frustrating. It's not dealing with people in good faith.
Nonetheless, Biden climate envoy John Kerry, who went directly from failing in foreign policy to failing on climate change, he is now calling for the death of all coal plants, which is good luck, dude.
Yeah, long term. Medium term, that needs to be a solution. Yup.
To be transitioning out of coal. There shouldn't be any more coal-fired power plants permitted anywhere in the world.
I would agree with that. Yes.
That's how you can do something for health. And the reality is that we're not doing it. So, you know, the measure here is...
Don't worry, guys. Instead of this guy for president, we got George W. Bush. This guy was during the second Bush Jr. election.
Really?
So he missed out on Al Gore and this guy. And I'm not saying either would have been perfect, but both would have been better than George W. Bush.
Sounding the alarm bell. I find myself getting more and more militant because I do not understand how adults who are in position of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis.
He is so ridiculous. How ridiculous is John Kerry? Article from the Wall Street Journal, quote, wealthy nations are sending tens of billions of dollars to poorer ones for clean energy, the linchpin of a global strategy to cut greenhouse gas emissions in the developing world. But two of the most ambitious efforts yet, in South Africa and Indonesia, are now at risk of unraveling, sowing doubts about the rich world's ability to push developing countries away from coal and other fossil fuels. South Africa and Indonesia, among the world's most coal-hungry economies, are backtracking on commitments they made to burn less of the fuel under agreements known as the Just Energy Transition Partnerships, which offered them $28.5 billion from the United States and other wealthy nations. So they're just ignoring it, and then they're taking the money, and then they're still building their coal-fired power plants. So we're paying people to continue to do what they were doing in the first place. When, by the way, the only actual way that environmentalism has become a thing is through the wealth of the West. That is why. But again, the morality of the West is not...
That's what the subsidies are for.
...tied up in reality. These
What are you talking about?
days, it's tied up in absolute fantasy.
No, it isn't, Ben. You just have different moral considerations. Your moral considerations are very old. Your moral considerations are that of identity and hierarchical identity policing, right? Also a bit of weird morality around, like, if someone can't do a certain thing, they deserve to starve. A weird morality of, like, if you're poor, you deserve it. That's your vibe. Modern morality is more complex and nuanced than that. It doesn't mean we don't have a morality or that we're concerned about frivolous things. It's that the things that you were concerned about are not relevant.
Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking?
The mainstream media. Vibes. Bro. What did I want to do next? Ooh, remember Elliot Hulse? This is just brief. He has a book or something coming out, and this is the trailer for his book. Weak men are the root of a diseased society. Elliot boldly and brilliantly teaches men to be strong again. How many times do they need to learn that? I thought Andrew Tate, Donald Trump... Had this not already been covered by 6 million other generic Jim Bro dudes? Donald Trump isn't that, but, you know. Political sphere shitbag.
They call me the king of making men strong.
Who calls you that? Who calls you the king of making men strong? You can't just give yourself a nickname.
I got millions of subscribers on YouTube. I'm the original.
Yo, Elliot.
The pioneer. The first. Thousands attended my events from all over the...
Do you think he's super, like, upset that Andrew Tate stole his bit? Like, Andrew Tate was basically this guy, but with supercars? He's probably really upset about that, right? Like, that was my market.
World.
Elliot has single-handedly inspired a generation of men to strive for greatness. Single-handedly. No one ever strove for anything prior to Elliot Hulse.
I gave it all I had until there was nothing left.
Those things that you have shoved down in your deep, dark unconscious.
And that's when my inner demons came out. I disappeared from YouTube. I quit lifting.
Successful people have shadows too.
You really do. That's why you can't win.
Making the right decision isn't about fixing yourself. It is about self-acceptance first.
And you can start again till the day you die.
After years of mistakes, I emerged with 12 pillars to destroy my inner demons and to give you the blueprint to make men strong again. Learn how to destroy your inner demons and be your strongest self.
We really need to start subsidizing or just giving people, like, free therapy. We're fucked.
Jew.
Oh boy.
They rejected
Hold on.
Christ.
Hold on. I need Boxy. Where's Boxy? God damn it. There she is. Hi, Boxy. Long time no see.
They rejected Christ.
Can we watch the semen retention epilepsy video? The what? What? I'm sorry, the what? You wanna send me a link? Cause oh boy, I'd love to watch it.
and there is a blindness upon them. And
yes, this is anti-Semitic shit. It's an evangelical basically saying, you know, that Jewish people are lesser than for not believing in Jesus. So anti-Semitic bullshit. Fenekagami says, for context, I recently saw a Daily Wire fan I keep track of with right-wing bullshit post a list of things feminists don't care about. The list proved he has literally never looked at a feminist that wasn't filtered through the demagogues, or rather his demagogues. All the things he listed are things that feminists either have advocated about or tried to get rid of, like the draft. Sadly, correcting him was getting bad for my mental health, so I just watch from the sidelines and check in once in a while. Yeah, it's draining to be dealing with people like that. I get it.
they rejected Christ, and there is a blindness upon them. And in fact, the Bible calls it a stupor.
Yikes.
It is a God-given blindness whereby there are Jews who cannot see the truth right now. There have been Jews who cannot see the truth for the last 2,000 years. But listen, have there been Jews for the last 2,000 years that have seen the light of the gospel? Yeah. Have there been Jews? Are there?
This is disgusting. This is like old school anti-Semitism that like infantilizes them and turns them into enemies at the same time. That's fucking disgusting. I'm not even going to finish that. I'm sorry. I try to cover things that are hard because I think sometimes it's important to look at like bad stuff so you realize things going on in the world, but goddamn, I can't. Is this where I got the sweater? I got mine on Amazon, but it looks like it's the exact same sweater. It's the same brand, but I got mine on Amazon. But yes, that's the same sweater. Yeah. You ever been to Pride? Pretty fun time. Lots of fun, happiness, joy. I'd recommend it. All right, you can do whatever you want, man. 5 minutes in. Oh boy. Oh yeah. Oh my god, it's been forever since I've seen this.
Deeper sounds go deeper into your body. The deeper the sound, the closer to your balls it is. The higher your sound, the higher it is in your throat, the more of a whiny son of a bitch you are. Bring the shit low. You know you're castrated when your voice is too high. Practice deep sounds.
Heat from fire, fire from heat.
Breathe, vibrate. And practice deep sounds.
I'm gonna do that. Kind of sick of his
You
nipples.
don't have to choose to hold the depression. Let go of it and express. It's all good. You're allowed to do it. You don't have to be a good boy all the time. Ha! Ha ha ha!
Why is his tongue blue? Did he just take his E?
There are tears inside. There's laughter inside. It's all inside. It's all in your belly. Stop holding it tight. Let it be.
What the fuck? Like I said, people aren't doing okay. That kind, yeah. Oh boy. All right then. Let's see what I missed. DM Trey with a link.
The lives of countless millions have been consumed to feed the egos of these sallow little rich men, and their industries are devouring people and profits at a faster rate than ever. Like Ives, they would rather die than stop eating, and the only thing that seems to be trickling down is blood. The global temperature is rising. Each hurricane season is worse than the last, but hey, the beach is still open. The gravy train's still moving. The meat grinder is still ripping through a biblical quantity of sinew and bone. When the Atlantic surges through Manhattan, the boys at the stock exchange will still be buying and selling right up until the moment their heads disappear beneath the water. Planet Earth sacrificed atop the Stygian altar of capitalism just so a gaggle of spoiled brats can get just one more fucking hit.
Eat to live. Don't live to eat. Huh? Huh?
The lives of countless millions.
That's a good video that's from, too. That's from his video on a movie... What's the name of the movie? It's a movie about cannibalism. I don't remember specifically, but that was a good video. Aaliyah says, I'm not sure my migraine nausea can handle this. Rick M says, this is making me uncomfortable. We're all uncomfortable. The current Speaker of the House is saying in this that he literally spoke to God. The Speaker of the House is saying he literally spoke to God. Is he calling Donald Trump Moses? Oh, no. No, he's saying he is Moses. I get it. Okay. I am hearing him, yes. Sorry. Let me make it louder. Johnson is God. He spoke to his Johnson. That is disgusting. I've said before, people's personal beliefs, whatever, but this is not a personal belief. This is someone making their delusions or just lying. Either way. Either they are his delusions or they are lies he is using to manipulate the delusions of other people in order to affect political change. That's not cool. That's gross. Yikes.
Earlier in the year, we put out a trailer about AFPAC 4, and it said December 2023. And initially, we had planned on doing AFPAC 4 in December 2023, but obviously there hasn't been any news about that. We haven't given any updates. We haven't sold tickets or anything like that. And that's because, unfortunately, we're going to postpone AFPAC 4. It'll be happening in 2024 instead of this month. We're looking for a place to do AFPAC 4, but we just haven't quite found the right opportunity.
Let me guess, none of the venues want to have your creepy neo-Nazi rally. Ben Kagami says the Republican majority in the House is shrinking. They keep losing people. That is funny. And speaking of which, we do have George Santos videos to look at today. Because of course we do. The multi-level marketing rally women to put America in Christian bondage. Oh, God. Who says Christian nationalism is a man's game? Jenny Donnelly, an apostle who claims God speaks to her prophetically in her dreams, wants to marshal an army of women to this extremist cause. Donnelly is the founder of the Her Voice movement, which is committed to activating 1 million women. Yeah, just like 1 million moms, I bet. Anyone remember 1 million moms? Activating 1 million women to stand for Christian dominion over American culture and politics in 2024. Under the guidance of top members of the Trump-aligned Christian right, Donnelly is organizing prayer rallies at every state capital next April. I am so glad that prayer doesn't do anything. And she's working to stage a 1 million woman Christian nationalist march on the National Mall next October near Election Day. Donnelly's movement building has an appealing gloss of women's empowerment. She's an experienced marketer, a former Hall of Fame earner for a multi-level marketing company that got charged for operating as a pyramid scheme. But Donnelly preaches a dark message of Christian supremacy. Quote, "I'm a really black and white person," she said in a video call with the Christian nationalist leader Lawrence Wallnow. I just believe what the Bible says," she says. Or she added, "We're supposed to go onto the earth. We're supposed to dominate." In late November sermon, Donnelly addressed congregants on their divine mandate to put God's people in power, telling followers, "He's given you a spiritual position to reign and rule." The agenda for Donnelly in particular is to roll back the LGBTQ rights movement, which she insists is a satanic slippery slope to pedophilia. They always say that. They always say that. It's never been true. It's never been true. What are you talking about? Please cease. What the fuck? Know that sin does not have a stopping point, she told a religious gathering in Hollywood, warning that if the movement remains unchecked, quote, all of a sudden it's going to be okay for a 54-year-old to marry a 4-year-old. No! What? No one agrees with that except for pedophiles. What are you talking about? Donnelly, 49, positions this anti-LGBTQ sentiment as though it is defensive, with branding that includes the website Don't Mess With Our Kids, but she also models her movement on one of the bloodiest stories of the Old Testament, which ends with the heroes going on the offense against their enemies, one of whom ends up impaled on a spike. This is the David story. For a preacher obsessed with power, Donnelly shuns media attention. She confided in the followers in LA that she wants her movement to appear bottom-up, insisting, "We want to make it so the press can't find out who is the leader." She did not agree to be interviewed by Rolling Stone. Fenekagami says, "Lady, no, you don't believe what the Bible says. You'd hate rich people if you did." Donnelly's first career was a wild ride near the top of an alleged pyramid scheme. She worked with Advocare, a Texas-based multi-level marketing firm that ostensibly sold nutritional supplements and energy drinks. Donnelly said her husbands were featured in the Hall of Fame earners for the company. "I never set out to be a millionaire," she said in one video, bragging of the couple's 7-figure annual earnings. How is she still bragging about it? It got called out as a scam. She's just, like, saying, "I made millions of dollars scamming people. Hooray! Thank you, God!" The collapse of Advocare occasioned a stark shift by Donnelly into a religious calling, pursued through a ministry she started with her husband called Tetelestai Ministries. The religious nonprofit revenue soared, according to IRS records, from $121,000 in 2018 to $1.5 million in 2021, as Donnelly became active in far-right religious communities' fight against COVID restrictions. Hydrate. Jesus. Well, I hope that goes away. Because unfortunately, pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing structures, are effective, at least for a while, even though they are awful, obviously.
Maybe that's what we need, is some men of God that have testicles. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Big orange pumpkins hanging between their legs.
Right-wing men have such a very strange insecurity about their own masculinity and about masculinity in general. It's like the one thing about identity that they've latched onto and they don't know how to have a secure identity outside of it. So they're constantly struggling against notions of masculinity, changing notions of masculinity as well as traditional notions, and struggling with both and never quite fulfilling either. And they turn out like this. It's very strange.
I feel like the Lord has called me as a watchman, not just to pray for the Middle East, but to pray for America. And next year, I'm doing a full 360, and I'm taking pastors and leaders, and I'm going to Washington. I'm going to the White House. I'm having a dinner with Congress, and I'm going to have revival meetings, and I'm going to prophesy in Washington, in the White House, because I feel like the Lord has called me now to have a burden.
How are you going to get in there? What? Oh my god, I have that background. That's funny.
I worked in Hollywood as well.
It's Kirk Cameron. Fuck. It's got the same back. Hold on. Let me turn off this so you can see. No, wait, is that the same one the PP Show uses? Maybe it's not the same one. Me and the PP Show have similar ones. No, I have a different one. That's the same one as the PP Show, though. That's funny. H. Baird says, the whole masculinity issue seems to come from the fact that these are people who peaked in high school, so they legitimately think that if they puff out their chests, act tough, and be abusive to others, they have to give them what they want. When it doesn't work, they assume they just need to do it more. Yeah, it's odd. I don't know.
Not as an actor or actress, as a journalist for many years, and I saw a lot of...
Did Liz Crokin call herself a journalist? She's the Pizzagate. She's like a Pizzagate lady.
Stuff. I wasn't fully awake back then, but there was a lot of things that I saw and heard that gave me great pause. And now I focus on exposing child sex trafficking, and I focus a lot on exposing the pedophilia
You don't, though. You're into Pizzagate and QAnon, so you're actively doing harm to real causes against child trafficking by making the whole thing look like a conspiracy theory.
Problem in Hollywood. Like pedophilia, Satan worship, that's rampant.
No, it isn't. Pedophilia in Hollywood, abso-fucking-lutely. Look at any... This is so shocking, but we continue to see this pattern. When there are, like, power structures that include children in some way, we see this in churches, we see this in Hollywood, which is one of the few businesses that includes a lot of young kids. So what happens is, within this hierarchy, people in power who are pedophiles use that power to abuse children. It's disgusting. It happens in Hollywood, it happens in the church, it happens in pretty much any power structure that includes children. It's disgusting. You are minimizing the reality of that situation in the stories of all of the people who were abused, harmed, used, by comparing it to evil secret Satanism? Please stop. This is the same thing as the Satanic Panic in the 80s. There are real children, real adults that, as children, suffered at the hands of adults who abused them. The fact that so many people have trivialized the real stories of sexual abuse with this kind of tinfoil nonsense makes me really upset. It's one of the worst things. It's gotta be my least favorite conspiracy theory for that reason. All this, like, QAnon stuff that ties up in, like, the child trafficking, because it minimizes the reality. That and, like, Holocaust denial and that are, like, things I just fucking infuriate me. Overthought says, it's like saying I'm tracking down Walter White, I'm stopping meth distribution. Fenigami says, I thought I was insecure about my masculinity because when I was 17, I wore nail polish for a costume and got gender dysphoria. Compared to these guys, 17-year-old me was the bastion of male security.
Hollywood. Back when you were, a huge child actor, did you hear anything? Did you hear stories? Did you see people, back then pushing, the satanic agenda? Or did we not witness any of that stuff?
Talking about growing pains.
Stuff.
Show me that smile again, show me that smile.
I didn't really witness that stuff per se in the specific terms that you're talking about right now. I'm sure, look, evil has been around since the earth has existed. We go.
He's coming at it from a biblical literalist point of view. Obviously, I disagree. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, oh, did you see that Tim Pool went full January 6th conspiracy theorist? I thought he was, like, the day of. Let's see, January 6th doesn't look like an inside job. It is provably an inside job. It isn't. We saw it live on the day. We watched it. Jesus. It's frustrating watching that whole narrative about January 6th shift in real time, because if you weren't here on that day, we did like a 6-hour stream as that was happening. Like, we started streaming when that shit started. Like, it was nuts, and we were on all day. And it was weird watching the real-time stuff where right-wing people all over the internet, if you weren't there and you didn't remember, there were right-wing people on the internet being like, fuck yeah, while it was happening. While it was happening, they were cheering it, and then as soon as they realized, oh fuck, this isn't working out, they backed up, and immediately the claims of false flags started and the conspiracy mythology began to form because they knew that it was a failure and that it was incredibly embarrassing for them. So they immediately had to shield themselves and their egos from the reality of the situation, and it switched into a narrative of, oh, no, I wasn't in defense of those people. No, this is a false flag. Kevin Sorbo, good example, like hours apart, like had tweets about like, this is awesome, history is happening, and then like him being like, this is sus. It's ridiculous. Fenekagami says, the abuse of children in these power structures isn't limited to pedophilia. Loads of non-sexual abuse happens too, arguably more. Yeah, of course that happens too. We were just talking about sexual abuse, I guess, so that's what I was highlighting. Fenekagami says, and they blatantly flip-flop on it to this day. Yep. It's a rhetorical tool. Reality is not a thing to them. It is a rhetorical tool. So they can change it when they need to.
We go back to the Garden of Eden. And so I think that...
Back to the Garden of Eden. Mike Mack says there will be a massive amount of kids going missing, assaulted, and being found dead in Hollywood if the conspiracy theories were real. Yeah.
Yes, this stuff is real.
Let's look at something longer. We've been doing little clips for a bit. How about Tim Pool? This is a Tim Pool video talking about the new Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. And I assume he's gonna cry about a woman being one of the main characters.
They become terrified of their own trailer. Has dropped big news, ladies and gentlemen. The new Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer has dropped, and fans are concerned it will be woke.
Are they?
So,
because like I'm a fan of GTA. I played Grand Theft Auto Online a lot. I got all the all of the big properties, all the businesses and stuff. I haven't played it in a year or so, but like for like 10 years there, I was super into it. And the thing I'm most worried about for the Grand Theft Auto 6 release is the disgusting monetization. That's about it. I think it's actually pretty cool that there's like a character that's a woman for the first time in GTA. Like, I already had a character that's a woman on my GTA Online, of course, because it's a custom character, but like, why is this an issue in any way? Dumb. Soup for my breadline. Thank you for raiding, Raiders. Hello, I am Hannah. I'm a leftist variety streamer. Today we're looking at all sorts of right-wing nonsense. Right now, we are looking at Tim Pool bitching about Grand Theft Auto 6. Make sure you check out Soup for My Breadline. There is a link in the Twitch chat.
For context, we will... Oh, actually, I don't even know if I can I play this? Official... I'm not concerned about the copyright stuff. I'm concerned about there's, like, graphic stuff in here. But we'll play just a little bit for you guys of the GTA 6...
It wasn't that graphic.
6 trailer.
There's someone twerking on a car.
And then we'll talk about the game getting woke.
adult man in beanie doing an online show in front of a flintlock pistol and samurai sword says, and then we'll talk about if it gets woke. Should have stayed in high school, Tim.
All right, here we go. Let's see.
Is it gonna pause during this or no?
Bad luck, I guess.
Being that's basically it. And then it just shows you.
You've seen the trailer. I'm gonna skip. I'm concerned about copyright stuff. So.
About the game being woke. We have this from Sports Kita that asks the question.
Has he never played a GTA game? I don't know. Because, like, other GTA games have had plenty of, like, they weren't playable characters, but they have had women characters. And I've been playing since San Andreas, right? San Andreas was my first one. I tried to play Vice City recently with the remaster, but those remasters weren't very good. So I kind of bounced off it. But I've been playing since San Andreas. So I've played a decent number of the games. I pretty much missed out on 3 in Vice City and the 2D ones, but most people haven't played the 2D ones. Nothing about this trailer gives any indication that it's any different than the previous games. Like, I have played the games thoroughly. The tone of the trailer was the same as the tone of the trailer for GTA 5. I don't understand what the issue is, except woman is the main character. One of the main characters. Bear in mind, this isn't even a situation where the only main character is a woman. If you've played Grand Theft Auto 5, you'll know that there's the character switching gameplay. You switch between 3 main characters who are all part of a team that do heists. And you can kind of at will in the open world or in the story mode. In the story mode, sometimes it locks you into a position, but usually you can switch back and forth between characters. In this game, it looks like there are 2 main characters who are boyfriend, girlfriend. They're partners in crime, and they're lovers. Don't like the word lovers for some reason. Reminds me of an old Mad TV sketch. Anyway, so one of the main characters is a woman, and they're upset about it. Why? Why are they upset about it? You can be the guy. You can be the guy. Just be the guy. And even if you're, like, averse to playing as the woman, I would ask, why? Why? Like, all the previous GTA games, women have played those, and they were fine playing as CJ, and then Nico, and then Franklin, Trevor, and Michael. You can't play a woman for 50% of a game without freaking out about it? That's ridiculous. That's pathetic.
GTA 6 reveal is just around the corner. It came out just today. Scheduled for December 5th. Well, the trailer came out today. As one of the most anticipated games in history prepares for its to release its first trailer, fans have many questions about how it will turn out.
Jitara says, it seems like they think it'll be more woke because female protagonist and tons of non-white people in the trailer. It takes place in Miami. Vice City is Miami. They want Miami to be full of only white people? Have they been to Florida? If you bring up San Andreas, a classic GTA with a black protagonist, I've heard them say something along the lines of CJ was black without being woke, which I don't know what the fuck that means as a black man myself. These are, of course, cis white men saying this shit with no reverence for black culture except what they hear on whatever conservative news outlet they watch. That's so weird because the main plot line of, like, GTA San Andreas involved, like, the LAPD, violence against, like, black people, gangs, and how police will use them or were using them in order to get things done and pit them against each other. That officer in particular, played by, oh god, why am I blanking on his name now? Samuel L. Jackson. Officer Tenpenny was his name. Like, these games have always had very political statements. It's Grand Theft Auto. Did they not play 4? 4 is a story about an immigrant coming to the United States and struggling because it's so difficult to actually make money doing the right thing. Like, have they played any of the games? It's got to be another media literacy thing where they don't, like, get what's happening. Like, I'm not going to say there haven't been problematic things in Grand Theft Auto. Of course there are. Of course there are. Hydrate. But the idea that there haven't been, like, progressive messaging in this is so weird. Dr. Gamble says, I keep bringing up Samus as the strong main woman that I don't hear people complaining about for being a strong main woman, one we've had since the 80s. If anything, people complained about the fact that in the game, Other M, they made her appear weak and whiny, literally the opposite of a strong woman. Why is it that Samus is the exception to the rule? I do wonder if any of it has to do with the fact that she's covered most of the time. The fact that, like, if you didn't, like, if you showed someone a picture of Samus Aran in her suit, I don't know if people automatically assume woman, because, you know, she's in, like, a power suit or whatever, unless it's Zero Suit Samus. So I think that might be part of it, and then the other part is when she is Zero Suit Samus, these kind of people are able to objectify her, and therefore don't care, because they're just like, ha ha ha, ha ha, me want sex with woman, ha ha. Like, I feel like that's the internal monologue. Spongy Lord says, I've genuinely seen tweets angry that there's not enough white people in the trailer. What the fuck? It's Miami! It's Miami! Fenekagami says, I remember when GTA had a black guy as the main character for the first time and a load of gamers went into GameStop demanding to know a cheat code to switch his race? I can't tell if that's satire or if that's a thing that happened. Oh.
A major question is whether or not the upcoming game will be woke, which refers to a heavy focus on political
Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub to Soup for my breadline.
correctness and social justice commentary. I'm going to go ahead and pause and say,
Did you not notice all of the commentary in the previous Grand Theft Auto games?
yes, it will be.
Yeah, the fact that we're even raising that question, I feel like anytime they remake something, they just are like, and you know what this needs?
Remake? It's a sequel.
Some genderqueerty and just some more LGBT, like.
Holy shit, the Ballad of Gay Tony. There have been gay characters in Grand Theft Auto. Gay Tony continues to be a character in Grand Theft Auto Online. What are you talking about? There were gay characters. Have there been trans characters? Probably not, actually, because they did the one joke that I'm like, oh, I'm sure there's more, but they did that, the name of their postal service in the game, like FedEx is post-op. Get it?
Is this what any...
But, like, they've not been overly shitty about LGBT stuff in the past 20 years, so I guess I don't get it.
Anyone who plays this game wants?
People have already commented when they found out that the main character is going to be a single mom. They were like, oh boy.
Well, they needed more...
Why is that, oh boy? It makes sense story-wise, presumably, from what I saw of the trailer and from what I've read. Her and the boyfriend, or her and the other guy, which might be love interests, I don't know. The trailer made it look like they have some sort of love interest, are robbing places for money, so presumably she needs money. How do you easily make a character that people understand, oh, she needs money, and makes her sympathetic? Oh, she's a single mom trying to get money for her kid and she's struggling. Their brother and sister, oh, the trailer made it look like that Folgers commercial then. There was an issue with trans sex workers in GTA 5. They removed it a while back. Okay, I guess I didn't remember that one. But either way, it's just very, very weird. Very weird. Very weird that they're focusing on this. Frost Empre, thanks for 14 months. It's like they want to pretend that it's still, like, edgy to have gay characters, or shocking. No, gay people just exist, so sometimes characters in fiction are gay. Trans people exist, so sometimes characters in fiction are trans. That's life. Mike Max, thanks for 30 months.
Representation in video games. They've just been crying out for it for years.
Well, what I don't understand is why these companies do this, because they know that's not their target audience.
The target audience is anyone who wants to play Grand Theft Auto, which is a ton of people. Grand Theft Auto 5 was the best-selling media product of all time. I'm not being hyperbolic. That's literally true. Like, how do you not get that? It's fine.
It's not what their, viewership or usership wants, and they're going to face boycott.
Why do you think you're the arbiter of that? Very strange.
But they continue to do it over and over again anyway. Like, what's the incentive? I've never quite
money
understood. Like, just purely from a financial point of view.
Money. It's popular. Your opinions are not popular broadly. That's why companies side with more or less progressive causes, because it signals to potential consumers, hey, we're a brand that really cares about your worldview. Of course they don't. They're giant corporations just trying to gesture in the direction of your worldviews and beliefs in order to get you to buy a product. But if they're going to tailor something to the market in general, it's going to be towards the widest group of people possible. And in the United States, most people are cool with people being gay. And you know what even more people are cool with? People being women. Women exist. Weird that you're hung up on it being a woman protagonist, as if women don't play Grand Theft Auto.
You would think, huh, my users hate when I do this, and they don't buy my game. I'm going to stop doing this.
They haven't had that happen. Red Dead was successful. Grand Theft Auto 5 was successful.
Maybe they think the game is so good, the franchise is so good, it's going to sell no matter what, and they want to indoctrinate and give another perspective on life. Like, have you ever thought, hey, 15-year-old boy, have you ever thought what it was like to...
Hey, did you know that the games are for 18 plus, so 15-year-olds aren't supposed to play them anyway? Shouldn't you care about that? Aren't you guys morality police who are like, oh, the children? You're not supposed to play the game when you're 15. I did. But, you know, my parents were negligent.
to be a ex-convict single mother? Will you
Why are you laughing? It's a Grand Theft Auto game. Like, literally, the last game included Michael, who was a family guy, who was a guy with a family, who was also a bank robber, who murdered people. Why is this different? 'Cause woman? 'Cause woman? 'Cause woman no do crime.
It's a female!
Should. I don't
Maybe that's good. Oh.
I don't know if that's the angle. I think it's more like some two things happen. Rockstar hires a 24-year-old 10 years ago, and you know, they're working
As linear time happens, yes.
in the mailroom or something. 10 years later, they're in marketing and they're in their mid-30s.
Okay, if they are, then that certainly seems like they showed themselves to be competent for the job. Like, what's the... Is he dinging because someone at a company, a hypothetical person, I might add, that he has made up in his head, started at a mailroom in a company and worked their way up? Isn't that the American dream that you believe in? That someone can start low in a company and work their way through competency higher in the ranks? But now you're making fun of that because you're blaming the inclusion of a woman in a game on a hypothetical woman you don't respect. Like, what is this? What is this? He's creating narratives in his head to justify the thing he believes. Like, he has to go as far as to create fictional people to keep his worldview from shifting even a little bit. That is sick. That is not healthy. H-Baird says, alright, I have to come clean. Being able to play as Princess Toadstool in Super Mario Bros. 2 turned me trans. She had the ability to float, which helps a lot in platform games, so I was subtly indoctrinated. I love Super Mario Bros. 2. That must be why. Fenekagami says, I remember, Hannah, they think that basically only white cis straight men play games. Also, yeah, idiots, games are supposed to make you go, what if, literally the point of fiction. Spongy Lord.
Someday, perhaps, an actual woman will emerge, and they will no longer exist only in the realm of myth.
And they say, okay, so we're going to finally be put, it's been how long? Like 10 or longer than 10 years, right? Since GTA 5 came out. And they're like, we're going to be launching Grand Theft Auto 6. Finally, the game is done. I'm sorry, actually, we should go back in time a few years. They said, we're conceptualizing this game. What should we do? And this person said, well, if you want to get people our age, you've got to make it, you know, social justice.
No! What are you talking? There have been rumors about a women protagonist in GTA since San Andreas. I remember this. Jesus Christ. They're acting like the idea of women existing in a video game is bizarre.
And the character should be a woman. It should be a woman of color. It should be all centered around marginalized peoples. And they were like, really? Marketing guy comes in and says, look.
It's a game about robbery. It seems like the last game, it was about heists, right? Each game has kind of a different theme. So let's go through them. From my understanding, Vice City seems a bit like, it's trying to get a Scarface vibe. Miami, drug running, you know, that kind of thing. Cuban Mafia, right? Grand Theft Auto 3, which I forgot first, is sort of traditional mob stuff. San Andreas is sort of 90s gang themed. GTA 4 is Eastern European Mafia themed. GTA 5 is bank robbery and heist themed. This one is stick-up themed. It seems like they're sort of a Bonnie and Clyde team where they go into businesses or banks and they do stick-up jobs. Wouldn't really make sense to have people from a non-marginalized group sticking up random convenience stores just like for funsies. No matter what, it's going to be people who are in some sort of economically disadvantaged situation. And if the game is taking place in Miami, why would you not have the protagonist be reflective of the people who live in Miami? Like, does he get upset that in San Andreas the main character is a black man? Because Tim Pool's not a black man. You know what I mean? Like, stories aren't always about you specifically, they're about people, and there are different people and different groups of people with different life experiences. Not everything is about your life story. Fedegami says, someone needs to preserve this because when this becomes the most successful GTA ever, they're immediately going to go, look guys, it's not woke. That's why it's successful. Oh, you know it, because the game isn't going to be some like leftist piece of, you know, art. It's going to be an irreverent satire of the modern world. I'm sure it's going to make jokes about the left and the right. GTA usually does. It's going to do that. And they're going to be like, look, it's not woke, and it made $10 trillion. Ignoring the things that make fun of this kind of shit. In fact, I really hope, you know how they have in GTA 5 TV shows and stuff, and they also have computers, but that game was designed, you know, a little before smartphones were really big. So I'm kind of hoping in this one they have like satire internet shows, you know, that make fun of like what's his name? Meathead. Joe Rogan, like a fake Joe Rogan podcast, satire, make fun of this kind of thing, and have someone be a character that's obsessed with wokeness. Again, I'm sure they'll make fun of leftists or whatever too, but at the very least, there's good material here to work with.
GTA 5 sold 70% of games to men. We got teenagers.
Okay.
We got gifts.
That means it sold 25% to women and other. So those 25% could play the GTAs with no women protagonists, but you can't play this one that has one female protagonist out of 2.
For kids, but it's almost entirely
people like this don't understand the concept of role play. Apparently not.
Young males. How do we double our market? I'll tell you this. Take a look at makeup. The smartest thing the makeup industry did was pay tons of money to dudes who put on makeup. Because they're like, listen, women wear makeup. It's a guarantee. But that means sales are 90% to women. We could double our market overnight if we convince dudes to wear makeup.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, do you think that the like concept of men wearing makeup is a modern one invented by advertisers? No. Various cultural like groups, men wear makeup. Even in America historically, like I'm thinking like counterculture movements with men wearing like eyeliner and nail polish and stuff in punk scenes in like the 70s. Even before that, I'm sure there's plenty of examples, but like it's just weird that you think that it's impossible for men to just want that on an individual level as opposed to it being some sort of psyop.
So the big makeup companies specifically are like, find me prominent personality men who wear makeup and we're going to give them a lot of money.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now you have people making makeup channels and they're dudes.
And they backed drag becoming trendy because not only
drag becoming trendy. RuPaul's Drag Race has been on the air for over a decade now, which is actually funny. RuPaul had the Drag Race show had the first cis woman to win Drag Race. So anytime someone bitches about, you know, anything about trans women, be like, hey, look at this. And I know that drag queens are different than trans women, but they don't. So maybe it'll piss them off. Spongy Lord says, shouldn't have dropped out at 14, Tim. History or drama class would have done you good. And Fennikagami says, was kiss a joke to you, Tim? I'm gonna get some water real quick. Be right back.
Only do are drag queens men who put on makeup,
yeah.
but they wear a lot of makeup, so you're buying a ton of products then.
Yep.
I
That's
feel
it.
like the
Capitalism.
women
Yes, big makeup is behind drag.
are oftentimes more left-leaning, obviously.
Jen says, if only there was Kinky Boots, popular media about drag queens, Priscilla, a queen of the desert, prior to the 2010s, Rocky Horror. You forgot, Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything.
But also more permissive of inclusivity.
Yeah.
So I think, you saw with Bud Light such backlash because it was a male-dominated market. So I'm curious to see, in these male-dominated industries, if they continue to kind of push back against this stuff more so than women did.
I feel like, and it's not my area of expertise, but with video games and comic books and things that I think of as more traditionally masculine spaces, even when there's a little bit of backlash, it's not enough to change the company's mind. The company just...
Man, it's almost like the company's making decisions based on what will make them the most money and not based on how many weird dude bro manosphere tears fill their inboxes.
does it anyways. It's like it doesn't respect the people that are at its core. It knows ultimately they'll play the game because they want to see it.
What's a female space?
Oh, God.
Like if male spaces are, like football and video games and sports and stuff.
Fuck off. Video games are not a male space. Video games are like 50-50 men and women now. It's just that you don't consider games women-like games. Like statistically, more women play Animal Crossing, but that's a fucking video game. And there are people like me who play Animal Crossing and also Grand Theft Auto. The gaming market is huge. It would be like saying only men watch movies. Movies are a man thing. Like, what are you talking about? It's a form of media. It's a medium in and of itself. You can't gender a whole ass medium for telling stories.
Like that. What's a female space? Like movies, you could say you can go either way.
I would say the same of gaming.
The movie.
Salon,
Women,
spa type.
Yeah, I was gonna say salon, like beauty industry. Women are much more socially based, and so I would think.
Have you considered that the men that you talk to, like Tim Pool, aren't indicative of what men can be, and that in fact he is an antisocial asshole? That's how I would describe conservative men. Antisocial. It's a good way to put it.
Like traditionally for a long time it was like volunteer organizations were predominantly led by women. That's a little bit, that's not as true now because we don't really partake in cultural community events.
What are you talking about? Where do you live? Like where I live, there are community events all the time that I go to, me and my wife. Like there are community events in places if you look. Maybe they're only happening in places you don't like, urban areas. Cities where people live, but you're scared of that. So, I don't know. Go to your farmer's market in rural bumfuck nowhere and buy some, potatoes. I don't know.
I think in some ways, online, it would be like the lifestyle vlogger, the mom.
To be clear, I do not mean antisocial in the sense that they do not want to go spend time with people, though that I guess is a ancillary part of this. I mean antisocial in the psychological sense that they are against social function. Like, they are anti-social. They are anti-interacting with other people and anti-dealing with the fact that there's a give and take between others and themselves, which does reflect in them not wanting to interact with people recreationally, but I more meant in the sense that they're antisocial. They do not like to engage in social situations, social give and take, because they are not interested in getting anything from anyone else. And what I mean by that is social interaction is sort of a, strictly speaking, a transaction, right? You are talking with someone else or having fun or whatever, and you are getting enjoyment, company, out of each other, right? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. We're a species that's social. That's a good thing. But they don't get anything out of it. They don't want it. And I don't mean introverted. I'm introverted. I mean the very idea of having to interact with other people in the world upsets them. Like my dad, for instance. My dad was like this. It wasn't just that he wanted to stay inside, it's that the very concept that he has to interact with other human beings made him mad. Like, one of the reasons he doesn't want, universal health care is he doesn't want to be, quote-unquote, responsible for others. Even though that's what insurance is, whether it's private or public, there's this general worldview of selfishness and only taking and giving back as little as possible. That's what I meant by antisocial. I meant it in a more anti-society, anti-collectivism way.
Mommy vlogger, the fashion content, it would be things that are more about that. You're seeing a crossover of like women, like I see a lot of push for like women's DIY projects, women using power tools because it's them fixing up their house, but that's ultimately them being in a domestic, traditionally female space.
No, I wouldn't say that's considered a traditional female space. You just want to define it that way because it's something you're okay with. You're always willing to make exceptions for things you're okay with, but if someone else feels like, okay, this isn't necessarily traditional, but let's include it in this, you would disagree with them. It's entirely about your personal taste. You must see what you just did there.
I don't know if that helps you with your question, but that's where I see women. I don't know if you see women out and about.
People are saying the Saints Row reboot was bad.
That was bad because the gameplay was bad. I actually didn't play it, but I heard the biggest critique was, A, people missed the old crew, which of course they do, but more so it was that it was like a mini-game collection, and like, the other games did that too, but they had years to get that formula fixed, and they did not. So of course it failed. They always blame things that fail on what they consider woke elements, but they never look and realize, and I know this is intentional, they're obfuscating reality for their fans, because their entire job is obfuscating reality for their viewers. They don't point at all of the things that have what they consider woke, but do amazing. Like Barbie, good example. Gnome Pickles, thanks for 22 months, says, joining the Hannah community was terrifying because I was so scared no one would like me. Thanks for being so rad and encouraging me to be better. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you, feel comfortable here.
Cyberpunk was bad. I don't know. Maybe. I mean...
Sorry, Fennikagami? Fennikagami said... I'm having trouble finding it. One sec. Their idea of gamers is literally the South Park episode of World of Warcraft. It's the stereotype from the 90s. Yeah, you're probably right.
There's an...
Like, I'm trying to think right now. I'm trying to think of strictly women I know that I know enough about to say if they play video games. My wife plays video games. Okay. Out of the women I know, all of them play video games that I actually spend time with and know enough to know. And my ex from years ago. They all played video games. They were different video games, but they all played video games. I don't understand. I don't understand this conception.
Element of politics in a lot of these games, but I wonder why they just don't make it so you can, I don't know, design your own character. Like with Baldur's Gate, we talked about that. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, and you can literally make your character some kind of freakish abomination.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the... Actually, it won Game of the Year. It is the most popular Game of the Year, pretty much, in terms of RPGs. You get that, right? Like, you can pee your pants about it and be mad and throw a tantrum, but it is, like, one of, if not the most popular game of the year. Certainly the most popular RPG. So, you should just probably admit that you're out of touch, and that's okay. No one's forcing you to, like, not be a shitbag. But you also can't really bitch about it, you know? Just don't play the game. Don't play the game. If you don't like wokeness, don't play the game. Go find a different game that's not as fun, but it won't have what you consider woke.
You can make it like a orcish woman with a beard and just go wild with it.
Yeah.
Wow, player choice. Can you imagine? The horror.
I mean,
also, are you familiar that in fantasy settings, historically, other, like, species, like orcs or the one I'm thinking of, dwarves, female dwarves in fantasy do have beards often. Like, that's not even out there. That's straight up Tolkien shit. And he's like the father of, like, 20th century fantasy writing that, you know, informed everything since.
Make some kind of monster.
That's effectively true in the Sims 2 games. I know there's like 100 of them now, which I think of as being
There aren't 100 Sims games. They're on, like, Sims 5, and they just have a million DLCs.
very popular among women, but they're not as fantasy oriented. They're not as sort of sci-fi. Also, they don't tend to go on quests. They just sort of live at home and have relationships, and then you decorate their house. It's essentially a virtual dollhouse.
I think
there are plenty of people who just play Sims, but I don't think that's the whatever. It doesn't matter either way. That is still gaming. It's just weird that you're focusing on that.
what they're thinking with GTA is that
Sims 4, sorry. They're not even on 5. God damn.
so the big issue people are pointing out is the main character's female. It's never
Is that an issue for you? That sounds like a you problem.
been done before. And I'm not, I agree with some of the counter critique.
It's not even like women main characters aren't common now. Like, tons of gaming characters are women.
Just because they make a character that's female that you play does not inherently make the game woke or whatever. They might be thinking like, well, yeah, we've done nothing but dudes. I mean, maybe we make a female character. But
What's the but here? There's no but. Gnome Pickle says, what bugs me is he called a woman with a beard an abomination. Cis women can have facial hair and this shit hurts people they claim to want to protect. The thing is, they don't want to protect that. They don't want women with PCOS to go outside without, like, plucking or shaving their hairs. They want them to feel ashamed. They want women to fit a very specific box in their head. Trans women and cis women with beards, and they want them to not do that shit. Because they don't want to see it. They want to control the world to fit their worldview instead of changing their worldview to fit the world.
if you guys have played GTA, right?
Yep.
You've never played
No.
GTA?
No, I've never played GTA.
You guys, look at this.
See, we're not the target audience.
No, we're not.
Why would...
Wow, this room full of conservative right-wing women who are fans of Tim Pool or work with him. Oh, they aren't the demographic. Probably not. What's a sample size?
I want to pick up a game where I'm going to run around opening fire onto random cars, mercilessly beat people in the street, steal things, and there's a whole lot of other...
Apparently he plays the... I don't know. I don't do the whole rampage thing in GTA. I like playing it as a smart criminal, you know? I'm not going to say I've never been like, here's a cheat code, spawn in a tank and see what the physics are like and see what the crowds are like. But typically, I like to play the games, at least how I played GTA Online, was my character is a brilliant criminal mastermind who gets paid to do heists and stuff, and outside of that, they try and maintain the law. Other than traffic laws, because it's GTA. But, you know, I'm not going out murdering people, that's not fun. If it's in a quest, sure, but that's part of the gameplay. And plus, usually it's like a SWAT team trying to stop you from robbing a rich guy or something, so... Spongy Lord says, if GTA 5 gives me Trevor, a rampage is coming.
really awful things you can do in the game, but do it as a woman. It's like, okay.
Wait, do you think women are incapable of doing these things?
Every game, you're a guy, and you can run around and just beat random people and shoot them and just do all this crazy shenanigans. But now it's like you're a woman doing it, okay.
Women can't... do you think women can't operate guns? I'm so confused.
Okay, so here's...
GTA already, if he's concerned about some sort of strength thing, first of all, it's a video game. Doesn't really matter. But GTA does already have a system and has since San Andreas where they have, like, bars for skills. This is also in GTA Online. So different characters have different strength scores. men and women. So they will probably just have some sort of strength score that changes based on, like, if they're working out or the activities they're participating in. And again, I don't think that the woman is the only character. She's one of two.
Here's the game. You're a woman, you run around Miami, you run up to a random guy and swing at him, and then he punches you one time and you're dead and you wake up in the...
No, because that's not how a video game works. It's a video game. They can make it work however they want, Tim.
Hospital.
So, okay.
Does he think that no woman has ever punched out a man before? Holy shit.
With
Wasted.
GTA, are you like trying to accomplish something? Is there
So
a,
there's
like,
there's a storyline, and then there's missions, and then GTA 5 is heavily online.
Yeah, I feel like the way you're describing it,
Can't wish harm on people. Sorry, gotta get rid of that message. Can't wish harm on people. On Twitch, DOS. Finigagami says, if a woman hits you with a crowbar, Tim, you will still die.
you would want the strongest
I
character.
understand he thinks it's because women weak. What I'm saying is it's a video game. Literally nothing, like, even outside of the reality of it being like a spectrum. Everyone's strength is on a spectrum. But it's also a video game, so they can do whatever they want. They can give her superpowers and make her punch people into the moon. Like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Character, right?
Yeah,
and it's like this push that we're seeing, you know, with women in combat roles or as police officers. So there's videos that go viral. I think there was one this week of, you know, 4 or so police officers unable to subdue one male. So I would think that you would want the man to be.
I have seen that with male officers. Do you think that men... Oh no. Does she think that all men are like infinite strength? No, if there's a perp that is strong, they're probably going to require multiple officers regardless of their sex or gender.
Be your character if you're playing this game.
Gnome Pickle says, back when I hung out in an MMA gym, when Tim would come in, we would have them test their skills against a 90-pound girl with sparkly red nail polish. Strength and size don't matter.
unless their
I
storyline is
assume you meant someone like Tim.
like she's gonna go beat up her ex-boyfriend, who's the reason she's in prison.
No,
anyways.
no, look. I've played every GTA since the first one on PC, which was a top-down view, and like you can barely see your little guy, and you're running around. It's funny. Then GTA 3 comes out, and it's 3D, and we're all excited. I have never played the missions. Never. The moment I get GTA...
Well, that's a weird way to play the game then, huh? You don't seem to like the game then. You don't play any of the missions in the game? You just murder people? You treat it as a murder simulator? What the fucking fuck are you talking about? And if you've never played any of the missions, then you don't know what the game is, do you? No wonder you're like this. You don't even know what the fucking game is. Stromboli says, did she forget her women's self-defense course at the Y? That's my purse. I don't know you. Would that make Tim happy if her initial fight move against any man was to kick him in the crotch?
Yeah, I turn it on, and I immediately just walk around, steal a car, crash into buildings, launch in the air, explore.
What are you even doing then? Like, what's the goal you're doing? And again, if you're not role-playing, what are you doing? You're just using it as a mass murder simulator? Like, if you're 12, I kind of get that, but you're, like, 30-something. What are you doing? How is that not mind-numbing? Ugh. Michelle Gladio says, never played the missions. No wonder Tim has no idea how overtly political these games are, right? Spongy Lord says, when I was very young, I would play Elder Scrolls Oblivion, but the game was so broad, I never knew where to go, so I just ran around the Imperial City killing guards for hours. I was 7, though. Yeah, this is a normal kid thing to do, not a normal adult thing to do.
Or the map and just go totally hog wild.
To be clear, I'm not saying you can't do that, ever. I'm saying if that's the only thing you do and you buy a $60 or $70 game just to do that, that's odd. Of course, if you're playing the game and you play the missions and you beat the game, or if you're playing it and you just want to do something else, sure. But he is saying he literally bought a full-priced video game to never actually play the game outside of using it as a murder simulator. That's weird.
So I propose someone mod the game, assuming it comes out for PC.
Mod the game so it's a man.
I think it is. And they make it, they can call it Realistic Edition. And
Realistic Edition!
You can play as the same woman, and when you run up to a guy and swing at him, it doesn't hurt him, and then he hits you once, you go down, and when you go down, it goes wasted. And then when you wake up, you're walking out of the hospital, And if you get arrested, you're walking out of the police station. Same thing. The woman swings at a guy, hits him, nothing happens. He punches one time, and then you go down. Well, that'll be the game.
Tim believes this is how the world works.
It'd be more interesting. It would be
much more realistic.
It wouldn't be more interesting. That would be an incredibly boring video game, Tim, that would be unplayable.
Yeah. Because then you'd have to figure out how to live in this weird, brutal society that you're in as a woman, and if you're a male player.
Don't commit crimes.
But that's the thing, like, if
it's a game, it's called Grand Theft Auto. It's named after a crime. Fucking play a different game.
If you're a male player, you're maybe used to having these strong guys who beat people up. You don't go to the hospitals often. And if you had to play as a female character, like, maybe it makes it more challenging because you're not as good at fighting or whatever. It would change the purpose of the
A game did that. Kingdom Come Deliverance did a DLC called A Women's Lot. And the normal game, like the main game, you play as a male character. And then in the DLC, A Woman's Lot, you play as a woman. And a lot of the things are more difficult because the entire premise of the game is that it's supposed to be realistic, like medieval times. So like the male character also starts off as shit, but on top of that, when you're the woman, you have to deal with other like social stigma issues because it's the Middle Ages and you're a woman. So that's interesting to get into, but this is Grand Theft Auto. She doesn't know that, of course, because she's never played these games, so it's weird that she's even talking about it. She doesn't know about video games, much less this video game. Hydrate.
game. Like, maybe you would spend more time scaling buildings and doing something else. And then that's
scaling buildings. She has no idea what the fuck is going on. Scaling buildings. Are you thinking of Assassin's Creed? Which has also had women protagonists. Fun fact. H-Beard says, we should mod it so that whenever the player is playing as a woman, the NPCs constantly stop and explain to you how to play the game. Gitara says, when I played GTA 5 online, I played a female character, and she had a maxed out strength stat, and I often used a metal bat in melee combat. If my character had thoughts, I wouldn't think she was too concerned about men being stronger than her. And Duke Desiree says, maybe Tim would like Minecraft more. No story, just sandbox.
one of the reasons that I think video games that are targeted towards men and women are slightly different. They are drawn towards different activities. Their brains are rewarded by different behaviors. So it doesn't sound interesting to me to walk around and beat up, you know, ladies of the night in GTA. But
oh, it's crazier than that. I mean, the game, it's nuts. But Serge, do you remember San
How would you know? You haven't played the game. You just turn it on and murder people.
Andreas?
Yes, I do.
That was the one where your guy could get fat, right?
Yeah.
I hope they do that
at the fast food place.
Yeah, that's right. In San
Did he literally just go, fat women? That's literally what he just did. Holy shit.
GTA San Andreas, you could go to the gym and start working out, and your guy would get ripped.
Yeah.
Or
Okay, so you're aware that there's a system where you can usually get stronger or weaker. Okay.
go to the fast food place and just keep eating burgers, and he would get fatter and fatter.
this is
and
a
fatter.
good life
That's
lesson.
fun.
These are great video games.
Okay, but I gotta tell you, if they do that in GTA 6, it will be the best game ever. Because I will take that lady and I will slam burgers until she is massive, and then have her just like bounce around Miami.
Then she could roll people over. Maybe she would have more ways to defend herself.
I don't know if the game would allow anything like that. But just like playing as having this morbidly obese woman trying to get into cars and just like, yeah.
Does Tim not think that people who are large don't get into cars?
It's just a tank, just so heavy. Just every hit is...
Tim Pool's poorly disguised fetish. It's just weird derision. It feels like this is a way he feels he can safely be misogynistic openly because he's talking about a fat woman. So it seems like he's like, I can get away with this.
It's a haymaker to everybody she encounters. Man, I can see that. That'd be fun.
But she gets tired really quickly.
Oh, yeah. That agility, definitely.
It's not there.
The agility perks for sure, yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Tim.
That was bizarre.
The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on
17%.
Do you feel?
Oh God, Steve Bannon.
Do you feel highly confident that when you go back and as a senior member of this administration, President Trump's administration, starting in the afternoon of the 20th of January of 2025, do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep
What have they done, Steve? What have they done?
state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government, never mentioned in the Constitution.
Yeah, as it turns out, governments require bureaucracy to administrate itself. They have the power to create that, so that they can administrate the apparatus of the state.
Is going to be taken apart brick by brick.
And then you'll have a non-functional government, which I know is what you want. You want things to break up and America to break up and either some sort of regional powers or corporations to get power. I don't know the specifics of your plan, but I know it's not great. The worldview that you have is not good for you or anyone else, despite what you happen to think.
The people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted. Criminal prosecutions.
Let's not say that.
Cash.
Christ, dude.
I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order of the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got
a good old-fashioned purge.
Got them for intel collection. We got
it's very Night of Long Knives of them.
Got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do...
Oops. Didn't mean to do that.
That they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will
lawfare. Jesus Christ.
Go out and find.
This is something that they've done. I don't know if you've noticed. Right-wing grifters and weirdos have started calling lawsuits and legal action against them lawfare because they need to reframe it. Because the reality is they're being sued and charged for real alleged crimes justifiably, but they can't admit that. So they have to say, no, we're being attacked. This is lawfare.
Find the conspirators, not
Rick M says, yikes. Oh, yeah.
Not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all.
Sounds like you have a solid plan. We'll figure it out. Okay.
On notice.
You guys still were waiting on your Obamacare replacement. Is it Infrastructure Week yet?
And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
Yeah, if you want to be tyrants, yep, that'll do it.
Because we're actually going to use the Constitution to prosecute them for crimes they said we have always been guilty of, but never have.
No you, but scary edition. Jesus.
All right, guys, I got something for you that you guys can all look up. Listen, remember I told you it is sights, sounds, visuals that the people that know the laws, that know the rules, that know who is and isn't president. They just showed Biden landing in a YF-22 Osprey in San Francisco. If you know, okay, this is where my love for aviation will dominate any of you, okay? Being that my family, I told you, are all ex-military pilots big time. An American president will never be allowed to be flown by an act of Congress in the YF-22 when a rotor fails on it, they're the most unsafe airplane they've ever fielded. Helicopters can
Apparently it's an F-22 Raptor or something, according to the actual post that
Still
posted this. He apparently got it wrong. So that's funny.
glide with the rotors, can land. When they have engine failure in the YF-22, there's no recovering from.
Pictured a YF-22. So that's like a really old plane, right? That looks like it's from the mid-80s or 90s? Very strange.
We're all in it right now. This last portal opening and us stepping through feels like a manic, otherworldly shit show. Okay? Like if I told you the chaos that has been.
You ever notice that the people who are like, the country's falling apart because of Joe Biden are half the time sitting in what appears to be a several $million house? Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at this. Like, look at her house. She's fine. She's doing fine. Like, this is a nice-ass house. No Pickle says, my family were all military pilots. Couch stolen valor. Cough, cough. Sorry, something in my throat. The YF-22 was the prototype for the F-22 Raptor. Gotcha.
Happening in my house.
He meant the V-22 Osprey.
In the way of
Chromatic Cuttlefish says, the YF-22 was the flight test model of the current F-22 Raptor Advanced Air Support Fighter. Also, fun fact, the president is in an F-22. Its call sign is still Air Force One. Yeah, any plane the president is on is Air Force One. It's the call sign.
Urging. And it's actually interesting because it's coming through my animals. So if you have animals and they are not well right now, or you notice them like throwing up or having diarrhea, or maybe you're feeling those things, like this.
If that's happening, take your pets to the vet. If that's happening continuously.
Portal is.
It's not a portal.
Asking you to continue to surrender, to purge all that is not serving you, to go to this next highest timeline. And it literally feels like a shit show. Oh, shit show. Okay? So you're in it. This is a part. If you're sick right now, just know that this is all a part of the ascension of going through these quantum leaps, these timeline shifts. It's like you're literally phasing through, which I'm going to do a video on soon, from older to.
Yeah, she's a manga person.
And you're
it's just mixed with the woo-woo.
Phasing through and like shaking off, like, you know, like when you're panning for gold. All of the dirt's like zzz, as the gold can stay and vibrate higher, right? I just wanted you to know you ain't alone.
Jesus Christ. I hope she gets help, because I think that's over the line where that requires some probable intervention. That's not how gold panning works. I've never been a prospector, so I can't speak to it.
There is a mass genocide going on in the United States right now. And
you can tell she's like super serial because she put music behind it that makes it sound like the trailer for a suspenseful political thriller. That helps your argument.
Nobody's talking about it. So let me explain.
Why are you doing this while you're doing your hair? What?
Thousands upon.
Is this a TikTok meta?
And thousands of homeless people are being taken out of cities run by, let's just say bad guys. And
since when is the right pretending to care about homelessness now, or homeless individuals?
Are being taken out in the middle of the night in white vans. And they are not being relocated. Because if they were being relocated, we would see them in other places. And they're not showing up.
Have you considered, and I don't even know if what the thing she's referencing is a real thing, The thing I've heard, though, is usually states sending people who are homeless to California. They literally buy them train or bus tickets and send them there. Gonna need more anything other than your vibes.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is because everyone is so distracted about what's going on across the pond with other countries such as Israel.
Am I across the pond usually is a phrase that refers to UK and the United States specifically, not just any country other than the United States, right? Am I wrong?
And Hamas, and Ukraine, and any other country mainstream media talks about wars and rumors of wars.
There are literally always wars and rumors of wars where human beings... Name me a time in history where that is not a thing.
The bottom line is, if you're not over there, you have
Oh my god, did she say in Hamas? I didn't even notice.
no idea what's happening over there. We live in a world where AI is extremely powerful and can generate videos of anything. So like I said, if you're
not quite yet, AI video is pretty bad still. I'm, you know, as shocking and scary as it is, it probably will get there, but like we're still a bit out from video that's like completely AI generated and indistinguishable from the real thing.
If you're not there, you don't know what's happening there.
They can do pretty good images now, that are pretty uncanny, but nah, not videos.
There are so many distractions. It's really, really sad. I promise you, the homeless people that are getting picked up are not going willingly.
Oh, should we put money into helping the homeless then? Oh, no, you're not in favor of that? Oh. Oh, you're just using this as a rhetorical point to be mad at Democrats? Cool.
Something called mind control, and specific frequencies can alter
Specific frequencies. She did the thing. Frequencies of what?
a person's brain and put them in almost like a coma, trance-like state where they can't fight for themselves. This has been going on for eons. People have been trafficked off our streets for over 10 years. And it gets worse than that. They end up in our food supply.
There it is. There it is. There's the other shoe. She thinks that we're eating the homeless. Great.
And for the sake of TikTok, this is just my opinion, and for educational
For the sake of TikTok, for the sake of reality, we are not eating people. That's not efficient. Like, this is what I don't get. There is no efficient way to consume humans for meat. Like, it doesn't even make sense as an evil plan. What's the point? You're gonna get diminishing returns. You can't feed people with other people forever. What are you doing?
purposes only.
At some point, you gotta be feeding people other things. Because we get our energy from food and grow from food. So if you're only eating people, where's the initial energy coming from? Someone has to eat plants at least.
I'm really not sure what the solution is to this, other than to raise awareness and get people to share and understand what's going on in their own communities.
You don't understand what's going on.
So please drop where you are from, and if this is happening where you are, in the comment section.
You gonna finish the makeup?
There are a lot of truthers out there, patriots,
whack jobs, conspiracy theorists, future patients.
Q, waiting for someone to come back, waiting for someone to save us. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but we are the plan.
Oh no, they're doing the thing, they're doing the thing, they're doing the thing. As Dan Olson pointed out in his documentary on Flat Earthers and QAnoners, in doomsday cults, it is common when the end times don't manifest for the group to synthesize the belief that they are supposed to bring about the end times. So, the idea that you should trust the plan from Q evolves into the idea that Q was training you all along to be the plan. You are the storm. So it basically leads people to action like January 6th. Not good. So this is another example of that.
We've been the plan all along.
Yikes.
You know why nothing can stop what is coming? Because it's controlled. The Breakspears are the gods of the Dark Ages. They ruled from the year 1000 to the year 1500. When King Philip found out about the Breakspears' intent on taking over the papacy.
Jesus Christ. Why is this... This is so much right-wing content now. It's just this.
What do you think the left gets out of this stuff? Why are they so dead set on trans, LGBT? Why is it so important to them?
Because human rights are a good thing that people care about within their moral framework. And Mike Mack says, we the plan until the plan fails, then it's a false flag.
I think that first of all, they hate America.
Wow, that thought process worked out great post 9/11. Keep it up.
They hate our values. They hate
our values. They hate us because they ain't us.
Our tradition. They hate.
No, I just don't want to get murdered.
Hate what we were founded on.
What were we founded on? We were founded on you not having a right to vote, own property, have a bank account, or any agency. You think that's cool? You think that's awesome?
And I always say this. I don't think that they actually have a plan for what happens next.
The plan is to not be dicks to each other, ideally.
I think that they just are so anti the West that they're going to be anti anything.
No, I actually think that if we're going to gesture towards founding documents of the country, the right to pursuing happiness, I would say, includes individual identity, as long as you aren't hurting other people. So I would say, in terms of the actual writing of the Constitution, all people created equal and whatnot, hey, maybe we should just let people do what they're gonna do. That seems pretty pro-West to me.
That is normal. Anti anything that is traditional.
If your traditions include not allowing people to exist in public because they make you uncomfortable because they're trans or gay, then yes, that belief is bad. You can label it traditional, but not everything that's traditional is good. Not everything is bad, but not everything is good. So for you to say it's a traditional value, as if that means anything in and of itself, I understand that to you, traditional is a category above reproach because it's part of your entire ethos. It is not, though, for most people. So you actually have to justify the thing you just said outside of gesturing towards a thought-stopping mechanism like tradition.
And conservative. And they want destruction and chaos because that's what they thrive off of.
No one thrives off of destruction and chaos. That's kind of a big part of destruction and chaos.
Are doing that through this whole trans agenda.
I didn't know that my existence was destructive and chaotic. Thank you. It's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day. Ooh, George Santos. He got expelled from Congress, I'm sure you saw, and now he's doing cameos, so let's take a look at these. Spongy Lord says, I decided not to hate people around me for existing in order to destroy the West. She found me out.
Hey Joe, I'm so glad your procedure went well. Everyone at Pfeiffer Wolf hopes you have a great recovery and can't wait to see you tomorrow. Hey, maybe someday we can play dress up. Take care, man. Chris, you sick psycho. You want me to yell at you? Are you out of your mind? Have you not seen me lose my mind enough this year? What is the matter with you, you idiot? Hey, and
That was not worth $500. People are paying $500 a piece to get videos from this guy.
me and Allison, I just wanted to stop by to give you guys a little encouragement. I know that finals are tough, but hey, it's the end at the light of the tunnel. You girls are going to be awesome rock star lawyers. No diva down nonsense. You girls are gonna slay. So look, do me a favor and keeping the queens you are so that you can go conquer the world.
This isn't on Fiverr, this is on Cameo.
Mwah. Bye. Hey, Harper. I love that you are such a dedicated student at NYU. You know, my not so real MBA.
Is he just saying it now? Is he just like, yeah, I fucking lied about everything. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. This man is responsible for the unnecessary deaths of puppies. Oof.
But I just wanted to stop
When
by
did that
and
happen?
give you some encouragement. Finish them papers. Don't mess around. Like, make sure that them papers are done. If you want to graduate, if you want a life, and remember, if you have student loans, those student loans aren't going to pay themselves. So finish the papers. No, seriously. Don't go out. Don't go partying. Don't go have fun. Just
Make something of yourself, unlike me. I wasted my life, did nothing, lied, and became a member of Congress. That's rock bottom for you. Lennon Cat says, the part I don't get at all is these people think that the elite are trying to destroy the world and upset the balance, but if they already are the elite, why would they want anything to change? They don't consider themselves the elite. Like, Ben Shapiro doesn't think of himself as the elite. Because everyone has people above them. There's no one who's in charge of everything. That's not an existent thing. It's a fantasy. It's a construct in your head. So anytime anyone has people who have power over them, which is everyone, because we all exist in a net of other human beings, billions of them in different power structures. So people look at that and go, ah, the person I identify as the villain of the story, that's the elites. So for like someone like Ben Shapiro, people who are successful in Hollywood are the elites. He's just a Hollywood failure. He didn't not become a popular screenwriter because he did bad work. It's the elites. Stuff like that. He defrauded an animal sanctuary? Gross.
finish damn papers. Finish those papers. Finish project. Dusty, Amy, Steve, Peyton, and Lewis, love you. Mwah. Bye.
Gotta find the furry one.
Hey, Lindsay. You know, a lot of people talk to me about how much chutzpah.
One sec. Where's the furry one? God damn it! Someone, I need to find it. Where was it? Oh, come on, come on. Here it is. Oh my god.
Hey, Heath.
Sorry. Be prepared. Peeplord says he also set up a GoFundMe for the homeless vet's dog with cancer, promised him the money for treatment, and then took the money. This killed the dog. Wow, he's a piece of shit. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Heath. George Santos here. I'm so proud of you for coming out as a furry, and I just wanted to tell you that your friends and family all accept you, and they're all excited about your fursona, which is awesome to be a beaverpuss, a beaver and a platypus. So let me tell you, they all love you, beaverpuss. Don't you ever get your head down, and don't you ever, ever let anybody tell you what you can and can't be. I'm so proud that the corporate folks at Arby's gave you the go-ahead to go to work in your persona. So if you could just, live it up and be as perfect as you want, just keep doing you, and yiff, yiff, yiff. Bye.
I have never been more sure that I've been in a coma for the last 10 years. What the fuck is this? He pronounced it platypus and you hate it. That's the part you hate? Not the end part where he said this?
So if you could just, live it up and be as perfect as you want, just keep doing you, and yiff, yiff, yiff. Bye.
Come on, man! I'm sorry. That was cathartic. Alright, let's put something else on.
You are having to change your mattress every single day because your erection is just tearing through the mattress and the springs. As I'm sure you've all read in the holy books, if you're not optimizing your testosterone, you are not optimizing your FUCK.
I'm sorry. What in the world holy book are you reading?
Potential. Now, gentlemen, I have another mind map to share on Obsidian, by the way. For those individuals who ask me every single time whenever I share one of my mind maps, it is on Obsidian. So stop skipping ahead. It's Obsidian. It's free. It's wonderful. It's a second brain for me. Please use it. I endorse it. I'm not sponsored by them.
Yeah, the previous guy who did the yiff thing, he was formerly in Congress. He got expelled the other day, and that's why he's doing cameos.
Free anyway. Anyway, foundational masculine molecule. This is what we're talking about. Optimizing testosterone. I have several, 5, not 7, 5.
I'm telling you, the manosphere has these groups of people. It's like it's become a religion, like some sort of mythology. We all have, and again, I've talked about this, we all have mythologies, beliefs and stuff that make up the world. Lacan called this like reality. It's comprised of illusions, which is like the things you see and feel, and symbols, the things you understand symbolically, words, ineffable ideas, stuff like that. Raptor Blue, thanks for the raid. Raiders, how's it going? We're doing Chud Watch, looking at weird right-wing content. How's it going? Make sure you check out Raptor Blue. So, the idea is that we all sort of have our lives, and I'm not saying Lacan is, like, objectively right. I'm using it as a framework to discuss human thought. And then there's the problem with structural... I do want to point this out, too. Even when I talk about Lacan, even saying, like, this isn't necessarily right, it's in sort of, like, the umbrella of structuralism that believes that there's an overarching higher structure that you can use to explain in psychology. Structuralism means there's this higher function that can be used to sort of, like, explain human behavior universally. I don't think that's true. I don't think any overarching, like, system that we try and imagine the human mind to work like inherently is going to be flawed because we are humans doing our best to understand ourselves. And it's hard to understand yourself. It's kind of an infinite regress. You understand yourself, but you're doing the understanding. So to understand the understanding, it's on and on and on and on. The point I'm trying to make is, what I am saying is by no means a structural, like, belief that this is objectively true for everyone. I'm sort of engaging in phenomenology, honestly. I'm describing something I observe, not making any statements of objective truth. Okay. It seems like everyone sort of has these individual worldviews. We have our own narratives about how the world works, in lieu of, I don't know, some sort of more general cultural worldview that is considered objective, which I think historically was easier to come by, considering media and things were filtered through centralized sources. So people, more or less, they had deviations, but they existed within some sort of coherent mythology of how the world worked. Now, that mythology wasn't necessarily true or helpful or even good, but it was widespread, right? People were wrong about things, but they were wrong and on the same page. Now that we're in a world dictated a lot by social media with fewer centralized sources for things that people trust, it seems like people have replaced these worldviews that used to be more regulated by centralized powers, by centralized media, and it's become this weird explosion. It's almost like some sort of sociological, like, Cambrian explosion of different mythologies to explain the functioning of the world, and one of them is weird manosphere stuff where they get obsessed with the ideas of alphas and betas and sigmas and testosterone and how manly you are because they need a framework and they think they aren't finding one elsewhere of how to be in the world. Their identity is confusing and they don't understand it because they're looking for signifiers and global rules in the world for who to be. That's how a lot of identity stuff works, is we understand ourselves in relation to where we live, where we exist in society. So, if they feel that society is giving them ambiguous messaging that they don't understand, or that they feel ambivalent about, it causes them to seek out simpler narratives. Narratives like this, narratives like Andrew Tate gives. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that the onus is not on them for not doing better. I am just saying, when we are discussing this as a broad topic, that is what I am observing. So I don't know what the solution is to that, but that is a problem, is people feeling like they don't have a place in the world, right or wrong. In this case, I think it's wrong. But either way, that's how they feel, so they go to this. So what do you do about that feeling? How do you alleviate that feeling for people? Make them understand that their worldview is maybe tied to archaic social beliefs? I don't know. It's just interesting.
5 systems that are going to be enormously resourceful for you optimizing your masculine molecule. However, there is a preface I need to make before I begin, and it is integral, it is essential that you understand this because it is going to allow you to execute with more conviction on these
What happened to Tate? I haven't heard any news. I think the, like, legal stuff is still ongoing.
Particular systems.
Yeah, I don't know what he means by the masculine molecule. I think he probably just means, like, testosterone? I don't know, though. Wait, no. What does it say? Foundational masculine molecule. Much talk on the superficial aspect of testosterone. I personally am selectively impressed by how increased testosterone levels change a human being temperamentally. You should, too.
So you need to make love to this idea.
Let me go back a little bit.
Please use it. I endorse it. I'm not sponsored by them. It's free anyway. Anyway, foundational masculine molecule. This is what we're talking about. Optimizing testosterone. I have several, 5, not 7, 5 systems that are going to be enormously resourceful for you optimizing your masculine molecule. However, there is a preface I need to make before I begin, and it is integral, it is essential that you understand this because it is going to allow you to execute with more conviction on these particular systems. So you need to make love to this idea. You have to be at peace with this idea, because without this, you're not going to convict, and you need conviction. Right. Now,
see what I mean? It sounds like pseudo-religious. It sounds like a spirituality. You need to buy into this. You need to buy into this. This is the foundational level for everything else.
Much talk is done on the superficial aspect of testosterone. This we know already. Everybody talks about heightened masculine characteristics, bigger muscle growth, especially around the androgen receptors, which are on the shelf.
I think he's wearing those glasses, by the way, because one of his things is he thinks that the light from, like, the blue light from screens will reduce your testosterone or something.
Or the
I might not be positive about that, but I feel like that was something he did before, where he was trying to do a sponsorship with these glasses, saying that the blue light from screens was doing something to your balls. H-Baird says, fun fact, the body limits testosterone. If your T level gets too high, your body will convert it to estrogen. That's why steroid abusers sometimes grow breasts, so these boost your T people are actually accomplishing the opposite of what they want to. Yeah, I know. I know. I'll have them know. My tea level has never been lower, and I've never been happier. Have you considered the tea's your problem? Gashel Gladio says, never tell me to make love to anything ever again, for the love of God.
Masculine frame, so upper chest, shoulders, traps, neck. These are the areas men, when we're looking at that wedge shape, that's a common compliment in the UK here. You're looking wedge. I'm not sure about in the US, but you're looking wedge. You're looking like a wedge, a cheese wedge. And hey, it gives you good feelings. It gives you some dopamine feedback. And we want to, or it is nice at least, to get those benefits of this wedge-like shape because of heightened testosterone levels. However, I'm just going to put that in.
A whole bunch of eggs just got really nervous. Statistically, there are eggs in my chat. I see you. I see you. You're okay. You can take your time.
The side right now, I'm just going to put it in a box on the right hand side. Okay, put it in the box. I am personally I'm selectively more impressed with how increased testosterone levels changed a human being temperamentally. I mean, what it does up here, which is phenomenal.
Makes angry. No, I can say this. I noticed a difference between having like more like average like masculine levels of testosterone before I went on HRT. I would agree. I think testosterone makes you more temperamental, and I don't consider that a positive thing. Makes you mad, makes you quick to get angry about things, makes you close-minded to other people's feelings, and I thought this was like bullshit. I'm not like putting like an objective like thing on men or women or anything, especially because like obviously I don't think it's that simple, but I will say testosterone levels, in my experience, this is just my anecdote, have a weird effect on empathy. Weird effect on empathy. Concerns me a little bit. But I feel a lot better now, which is good. Ugh. Peeplord says, I really wanted to come up with a hyper-fragile masculinity joke, but my heart is saying these guys are salesmen for malignant toilet paper. Someone make something out of that.
And you should be more concerned with this too. So elements of influence here. Just need to make sure I'm still recording. Yes, we are. We're talking about increased assertiveness in your temperament.
I don't know if I'd call it assertiveness.
This is something you control. It's not something you're born with. It's not Maybelline. You can start to increase the factors that allow you to be more aggressive or assertive, whichever synonym that you like in your life. It is not a choice. Well, it is a choice, pardon me. It's not.
What do levels of estrogen do? Just wondering. I've heard a lot of different things about that, like being more emotional, but it seems like more testosterone makes you emotional too. I would say what emotions are more at the forefront are different. With testosterone, for instance, and before I was on estrogen, anger, frustration, these things are very at the forefront. And bear in mind, I am recognizing also that this is not like an experiment, this is an anecdote. So along with this, bear in mind, I was also in therapy, also dealing with all of my social stuff, my trauma. So this could also, in large part, be due to that. So just bear that in mind. But generally, as I continue to get on T blockers, and I did the T blockers first, because that's what my doctor wanted me to do for about 6 months, was 6 months of T blockers, and then add estrogen. The T blockers helped me calm the fuck down. Everything was intense, and that's not to say that, like, I never get intense. Of course I do. Lately, I've gotten intense. But I mean, everything was intense all the time. It was really bad. I'd be angry and frustrated about just about anything, and there wouldn't feel like underlying feelings. I couldn't find them. It was just like, I'm just mad. Ugh. But, you know, after the hormones took hold, much more reasonable, calmer, able to think things through, understand the feelings of other people, not be so arrogant. And I'm not going to say I'm not arrogant compared to the average, especially on this show. It's a show. I'm going to come off as arrogant because it's my show. But like in real life, I'd like to think I'm a lot better at not being a full of myself piece of shit, you know? Also, softer skin, just different feelings, wider range of emotions, or better emotional understanding. cry easier. In a good way. Crying feels cathartic. And other things that are too personal. But you can Google that.
Fate. Dopamine sensitivity goes up when your testosterone is higher, especially in competitive behavior. Imagine that. You experience more pleasure when you're doing competitive things like work. You can actually enjoy work if it's competitive, if your testosterone is high. And also one of the more interesting ones for me is your ability to be resilient. If something bad happens, if you have a bad breakup, if you get fired from work, your recourse is typically higher or faster, pardon me, if your testosterone is higher. And this is only a few things that heightened testosterone levels influence temperamentally, which is quite remarkable. And I again, I can't overstate and I'm going to keep mentioning in these videos around testosterone, if you can change your temperament, you can change your life. You can fundamentally change your life. So it's
Yeah, but I don't think your problem is having not enough tea. Chitara says, I'm sure there's some guys out there who are planning on using tea boosting advice as a way to attract women, as if more testosterone will just flip a switch in their crushes that'll make them suddenly attracted to them without changing anything else about themselves. That's what a lot of this comes down to. Resistance to change internally. People, everyone, myself included, I'm not excluding myself from this, this is just a human thing. Humans don't like to change. There's sort of a ego inertia. Like if you're a certain way and you view yourself a certain way and you behave a certain way, you are going to do everything in your power to avoid change or avoid introspection that's going to force a change. You're not doing this necessarily on purpose. In fact, therapy and people being aware of this kind of thing can counteract that because you know it's happening, so you can consciously be aware of it and avoid it. But normally, people don't like looking at themselves, their personalities, their actions, and seeing how they reflect poorly on themselves. People will avoid the reality of a situation when they look bad, because it's devastating to you as a person to think of yourself in that light. Fedekagami says, dude, men routinely get destroyed emotionally by breakups more than women. It's largely because men have fewer robust support networks than women. Yes, I have seen studies on that. Men tend to still have negative feelings and depression surrounding breakups longer, and the primary reason they were able to suss out was they believe it's because of lack of strong social connections interpersonally to people around them. If they have friends, the friends aren't as close as a woman and her friends statistically. So.
I've heard this sentiment expressed fairly frequently in the last few years that the internet was the downfall of society, that was a turning point where everything started to unravel. And although I don't completely disagree, I actually think that the internet
This is that weird fashy gamer guy that we've watched a few times before.
used to be incredibly comfy. And I remember because, I'm in my 30s.
What game is that?
I remember a time when the internet didn't exist. And I remember the atmosphere in our culture at that time. And the early 2000s, I'd say the entire decade of the 2000s also had its charm. Obviously, the 9/11 event.
No, this isn't Ghost of Tsushima. That's why I was asking. Like, I love Ghost of Tsushima, and this looked similar, which is why I was asking.
It kind of tainted that decade.
Looked like Ghost of Tsushima, but with a grapple, which is awesome. I love games where you can grapple around and stuff.
Okay, and I think without 9/11, the 2000s would have been extremely comfy because when the internet was a niche technology, when it was new, and the only people using it were men who were interested in the tech, they were kind of the nerds of the time, right? They were the guys out on the fringe experimenting with this new tech.
H-Beard says, I think there's a certain purity culture aspect to resistance to change. If you ever admit you were wrong about something, then you're now tainted and can't consider yourself wise anymore. It's a big reason prejudice can hang on so long past when our culture theoretically decided it was bad. Admitting you've had prejudice means you no longer are a good person. I agree. People don't like to feel wrong, even when they are wrong.
The thing that really ruined the internet, and, you know, I guess you could also say ruined our fucking society, was when normies
Ruined our society.
Discovered the internet. And how do they do that? Well, through social media. That really is when things started to take a turn for the worse. And yeah, like, it wasn't clear at the time. You had grassroots social media, like my...
Social media was something that had been theorized about for decades prior to it existing. Like, if you look at old retrofuturism things about a hypothetical future internet, they often talk about, you know, communicating with friends and family. Social media was always the inevitable result of the internet as it exists as a consumer product. Blaming women is bizarre when none of the largest social media like companies in the world were started by women. I'm thinking early on, MySpace, that Tom guy, Facebook, Zuckerberg. I don't know who founded Twitter. Jack Dorsey, I think. He's a dude. So, like, what do you even... What? Well, how are you blaming women for this?
Space, which, although extremely superficial and obnoxious, you know, to a certain degree, it didn't have the kind of sinister undertones that modern social media has, like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, which is just the most insidious blend of propaganda, corporatism.
If you don't like social media, especially the way it currently runs, that's fine. There are tons of actual demonstrable problems with the systems that we, every day, just absolutely dive into on the internet through social media sites that primarily gauge, you know, how much you should be viewing or what you should view based on outrage. Of course that's an issue. That's discussed. I don't understand how you could possibly blame this on women, specifically.
And, like, narcissism, you know, that is modern social media. And you don't have to look too far to really see the consequences. I mean, just look at women as a group in our society.
Oh, God. You can tell that he fancies himself a bit of an intellectual, and that's annoying. Like, you can tell that he's the kind of person who's like, TikTok videos. How vacuous. I'd rather spend my time thinking and reading about Dark Ages siege combat.
I think
it's just funny. There's a certain kind of person who they think it's intellectual in order to be pretentious and act as though fun things, frivolous things are stupid and not worthy of anyone's time. I hate to break it to you. Frivolous, silly things are one of the funnest things in life. Don't hold it from yourself just because you feel like, oh, I'm too serious for that. Please, have fun. You live once. Just live it. Have a good time. Don't hurt people.
They've suffered the worst, willingly, at the hands of social media. But, you know, women are fundamentally, they are consensus
Rick M says, this guy, women won't fuck me, so they are bad.
They go along with whatever is popular at the time. And as a consequence...
That's most people, by definition. If something is popular, then either a majority or at least a large plurality of individuals have decided they like it. That's the definition of popularity.
They are
like, if something is popular, then by definition, people have decided it's good or whatever.
Probably the most mind-fucked when it comes to social media because...
Yeah, and women don't have any taste, like famous things women have liked, like the Beatles.
Like, women, they simply don't have the faculties to tune out any of this negativity,
Jesus Christ. See what I mean about, like, people forming mythologies in order to justify their personality, in order to justify their identity? He, for whatever reason, maybe has some insecurities that he doesn't want to deal with, but instead of dealing with them, he frames the world in such a way that the narrative puts him as maybe not the most successful man, but that's not his fault, of course. The system's fucked, right? It's all these women who aren't in their place. If it weren't for all these women where they don't belong, obviously he'd be doing better, because in his head, there's a hypothetical woman out there taking his place in society, a successful place in society that should be rightfully his, because again, within the narrative he's constructed, or borrowed from other people and put into his own, involves all men inherently being smarter, more emotionally regulated than all women. So in his head, it should be like oil and water, you know? It should be two distinct layers. Sure, there are women who are more successful than others, but even the most successful woman should be under the least successful man. Seems to be what he's done to himself. The fact that he does this makes it seem like he's incredibly insecure, and the only way he can find value in his life is by primarily identifying by his gender and placing that gender irrevocably above women. That wasn't too bad. I know that was a typo and you meant guy, by the way.
Give this propaganda. They just
But Twitch won't show it, because it's accidentally a yikesy thing.
consume it, it takes hold of them, and then they become assimilated, right? They are assimilated into this Borg collective of Globo Homo cancer.
There's that too.
They're the ones popularizing all of these new, god-awful social movements. They're the ones sharing hostile feminist and, woke memes. They're the ones who are the most vocal propagandists when it comes to
People who disagree with you are all doing propaganda. Did you know that?
consolidating, maintaining, and expanding the clowned internet, right? The new internet, the new status quo. And they're hurting themselves probably more than anyone else, which is the saddest thing. But this is the situation.
It's ironic, that's how I feel about these manosphere types. They're actively engaging in worldviews, beliefs, and actions that are antithetical to their own lives being happy ones. And that sucks.
That we're in, that are guys, people that actually care about family, Western culture, civilization.
Oh, the Globo Homo thing is a word that... It's kind of a shibboleth that Chuds use that basically just means the gay agenda. It's the gay agenda with a little, essence of JQ anti-Semitism.
We've lost control of the narrative, and we actually haven't been in control of the narrative for an insanely long time. But things have really
Who's you, men? Why do you think men have the right to unilaterally be in charge of the narrative of reality? What the fuck are you talking about?
accelerated since social media, smartphone technology has come into the fore, because the people that
Western culture isn't a singular thing. Why are these people like this? Again, in this guy's case, it's because I think that's part of his identity. He identifies as a man of Western culture. So the things he likes are that, and those things are good by association to the, quote, West.
that really do control this paradigm, they understand completely how important control of the masses is. It's very, very important. It's always been critical. But the problem is the people in control of the masses right now.
There is no one in control of the masses. This is something they don't get, and I think this is an interesting look into how fascism forms in the first place, is a bunch of individuals like this who things aren't going well for. Society has problems. This guy clearly has problems. But instead of looking around and being like, okay, we live in a really complicated society with a ton of individuals and groups all working towards their own ends, for and against each other, in a never-ending, weird back and forth between innumerable, nodes. But instead he has to frame it in a way that, no. If it's one person or a group of people who he thinks are evil and controlling everything, then it can be stopped, and that same process can be subverted in the other direction. And by that I mean, he thinks that he, or people like him, could put a strong man in charge who would just make everything good, the way it's supposed to be. Inevitably, that falls apart. We saw in the early 20th century how fascism works out. It's not a long-term proposition, regardless of your beliefs about it. If you're pro-fascism, go fuck yourself. But, like, regardless of that, it is not effective. It falls apart. It's an untenable governmental system, long-term, even medium-term, quite honestly. But that's how they think it works. This guy thinks that there's a group of people in charge making things the way he doesn't like it, even though in reality it's just the net outcome of a bunch of individuals and groups doing their own thing. This is just the net outcome of that. He's put the onus on one group, so he thinks he can just switch out that group for people he likes, fascists, and everything will be all right and back to what he thinks the natural order is. It's fucked up. Peoplelord says, I'm Jewish and queer. Can I be a globo homo? Call me globo homo lord.
Are insane, borderline satanic, transhumanist.
Borderline satanic. What does borderline satanic mean? Is that not just a binary option? Isn't something either for Satan or not? Feels like it involves intention, right?
Ideologues, right, that have truly upsetting plans in mind for humanity. And the thing with them is, it's the fundamentals of leftism, isn't it? It's that because you don't live in accordance with reality, then your crusade becomes having to purge anyone that doesn't agree.
I don't think that your reality is in line with the real. No, that's not the right use of the real. I don't think your reality is in line with facts.
With your interpretation of reality.
Nuanced satanic opinions.
Because that's a core tenet of leftist philosophy, really. It's that truth is subjective, right? That's Jacques Derrida, right? That's postmodernism. So it makes sense that women would be the foot soldiers of this new leftist philosophy, really. It's that truth is subjective, right? That's Jacques Derrida, right? That's postmodernism. So it makes sense that women would be the foot soldiers of this new order because, you know, they're highly susceptible to rhetoric. They are masters of crafting narratives themselves. I mean, you know, a woman lives in an emotional world, not one.
You live in everyone lives in emotional worlds. Emotions are part of everyone's, like, mental framework.
Bound by absolute truths. And I'm sure, you know, anyone that's argued with a woman before, you'll probably be astounded and, you know, thunderstruck by the way that they can selectively edit the narrative of their own experience.
Holy fuck, projection, Batman.
In some ways, just
everyone is capable of that. Gender is not relevant to people twisting narratives. You're literally doing it right now.
To win the argument. So it's something that
He's just doing the thing. He's doing the thing where he plays by old stereotypes about women, created by men, that are like, women are all emotional and men aren't. Men are rational, and anger is rationality and not an emotion.
Masculine mind has trouble even conceptualizing, and it's kind of funny. But that is it. It's first you purge, you dehumanize, and then you eliminate.
I'm so curious what the arguments he's thinking in his head are when he's referencing arguments with women.
Anyone who doesn't see the world exactly like you do. And in a way, they are kind of aware that human perception and consciousness does shape reality to a certain degree, right? But, you know, there's two ways to go about that. You can either live in accordance with the objective world, right? The physical.
What do you think is not in accordance with the objective world right now? You don't want women on the internet? Like, this reminder that the title of this video is Women Ruined the Internet, and this video is about women getting on the internet and it's supposedly ruining everything. And now he's talking about some sort of natural state? It's the internet! It's inherently not natural. It's a series of tubes. Like, what are we doing?
Realm and look to the lessons of the past, look to the wisdom of, you know, your culture and religion, and try and live, you know, in a humble way in accordance with nature. Or you can reject reality and substitute.
Humans don't generally live in accordance to nature. You know, houses and clothes and society. These are not natural things by the definition you're using, so.
It with your own mental illness and then force everybody to agree with you. That's one way to go about it, you know, because once...
No one's forcing you to agree. I'm sorry that society doesn't agree with you at large, but that doesn't mean they're forcing you. People just won't like you if you don't agree. That's literally anything. Literally anything. People will dislike you if you don't, like, feel the same way if it's something monstrous, like the things you're saying. Why are you shocked people don't like that you think women shouldn't have rights? Like, what the fuck? Like, why won't people like me despite my antiquated views and hateful bullshit? You answered your own question.
All people who are sane and in touch with reality are dead, then I guess you win.
I guess you're not in touch with reality if you're the only one that feels that way, huh? Lennon Cat says, this bothers me so much as someone who is very much into psychology. Emotions are literally how you engage with the world. Every sense you have is tied to emotions. Even your sense of smell activates emotional responses. Actually, it does so quicker than any other sense due to the signal having to pass through certain portions of the brain before being processed. It's the reason emotional memories are more vibrant and easier to remember than purely factual memories.
Right? I guess you win, except you don't win, do you? I mean, it's kind of like the Christians would say, well, hey, now you're in hell. You created your own personal hell. So, the Christians have a point, really, when
That's not what Christians would say. That's not how Christians view hell, and even Christians as a category is quite broad. There's so many sects of Christianity. But no, hell is generally considered a literal place, not a state of being.
they say, turn away from God, turn away from the truth.
The Bible does say the kingdom of heaven is within man, not one man, but all men. And it's using man there as a general old-timey word for humans. Are you thinking of that?
And, you're going to hell. I don't think it's a threat. It's more of like a warning. It's like, guys, you don't want to reject reality. You don't want to reject truth, because all you're going to do is you're going to destroy yourself. And
Have you considered that the things that you consider truth aren't real, and that's why you're so out of sync with everyone else? Like, this is the meme of, am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. If most people are saying that you're wrong about this, maybe you're wrong. And that's like, I get it. That's a bandwagon fallacy. But I'm just saying, you look around, and women exist in society in a way that this guy says shouldn't exist, yet they do. Why isn't everything on fire? And I know he would say, it is! But really, no, it's not. It really isn't. We have problems, but none of those problems are directly related to anything about the gender of people working in the jobs that people do, or having roles in creative, projects.
you're going to destroy the world. But, in the same way that Eve in the Garden of Eden, being a woman, she's just like, yeah, whatever, right? You don't tell me what to do, Adam. I'm going to eat that fucking apple, right?
Adam isn't the one that told her not to, you dipshit. God is, and then Adam also ate the apple after she offered it. Holy fucking shit. And also, I know it's not an apple, it's just a fruit. They think it's a pomegranate. I get it.
It's the same.
I've also seen the History Channel and their various hours-long Bible things.
Thing. I mean, they're doing it now. You turn around and you go, excuse me, feminists, do you understand that if you live a life completely opposed to your own feminine nature, no children...
Hey, maybe people have a feminine nature where they're women and they also don't want kids, and that's fine. Right?
Antagonistic to masculinity.
Like, if we're doing this, then I'll say this to him. I don't believe this, but I'm imagining an opposite and opposing position would be something like, random loser on the internet making videos about anti-feminism while playing a fucking video game. You're not living up to your masculine potential. Why aren't you out there winning contests of strength, conquering nations, wooing women? Oh, it's because no one's interested? Oh, wow. That's a shame. You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
That you're going to end up kind of in hell eventually. When you're old, you have no loved ones, no one cares about you, and you've destroyed the world around.
That's projection. You just said most people already agree with feminism. That's what you said. That most people agree at least second wave feminism that you're talking about, women in the workplace and stuff, having roles in society outside of just caregivers, mothers, wives, etc.
When you're old, you have no...
So sorry, I had to remind myself what you just said. So if most people are on their side, then isn't it you who are worried about being alone and not having anyone? Gitara says, I know this kind of mean-spirited, this is kind of mean-spirited, but there's a part of me that enjoys knowing that men like this are not in relationships with women. Like, they're so sure they're right about everything, and that they're superior to everyone else, but they come home unloved and untouched by the women that they both seem to hate and desire. No, I think that's fine. Like, it's not, like, gray. I think generally, for me, and I'm not telling you what to do, for me, I try to avoid those feelings of, like, schadenfreude, because I don't know. I feel like I'll get too into it and I'll become a really spiteful person because of what I do for this job. Because I do this every day. And I've certainly gotten to places where I've gotten too mean to people and I try and avoid that. But yeah, your feelings are valid. Of course you feel that way. These are destructive, abusive people. And just as a social consequence, they don't have other people around them who care for them. And on some level, that's sad. I'm sure they have their reasons for being like this. Not good reasons, but everything has a cause. But yeah, that's kind of the natural consequence of their actions and beliefs, isn't it? You can feel good about that, or at least feel relief in that they aren't going to be harming a partner, as long as they don't trick them into thinking they're different than they are.
Loved ones, no one cares about you, and you've destroyed the world around you through spreading these toxic ideas. I mean, is that really victory? That doesn't sound like victory to me, and yet that's the path that we're on, you know? Every woman on social media can't wait to turn this nightmare, this vision of hell, into a reality. And if you ask them why they want this, you just get a blank stare.
What specifically? Have you even said a specific? Do you just mean like women having the same rights as men, being treated the same in terms of like opportunity? I don't even understand. Has he said a specific?
Does not compute, you know? It's an NPC reaction, because I don't think they really know what they're actually advocating for. They don't seem to realize that they are being
for women to have the opportunities and choice in what they want to do with their lives, just like everyone should have.
Led down a path that can only end in destruction and death and misery. They represent the eternal normie, you know, as the
eternal normie.
Gnostics put it.
NPC and normie have been my favorite words that they've manufactured to try and other the majority. It's so funny to me that they're like, oh, why doesn't society agree with our hateful, dogshit, stupid opinions? They're all just NPCs, like in video games, am I right, guys? 4chan, what the fuck?
The Heilig, right? Normies ruin everything. They really do. And having a society that...
Just like, if we're talking about reality, if the majority of people are perceiving the world differently than you, like, aren't you the one ruining everything for everyone else? Kind of solipsistic of you to assume the entire world revolves around your perception, your subjective viewpoint.
That's kind of tiered, and having an upper strata of the culture that is inaccessible to the normie and unsubvertible by outside forces, by
yes, Halloween Town, same guy.
External cultural forces, is probably a good idea if you want to have a functioning civilization that lasts more than a couple of hundred years. I think we're learning this right now, because all you have to do is look at the absolute state of the internet and the average moron caterwauling through Twitter or some other fucking cancerous service, right? Demanding that their last remnants of
unlike YouTube, which is clearly just full of intellectual giants,
freedom be taken away in the name of anti-racism, or some other meme social cause that really just amounts to...
I'm sorry, did you just say anti-racism is a meme?
Egotistical virtue signaling.
I remember the famous Martin Luther King speech. I have a meme.
I mean, you can see just how bad things have got. And these people, they don't have agency. They don't have the ability to actually think critically. So what you do is you control the mob. And the rest of society falls in line, because the mob can be violent. The mob can act as enforcers.
You're literally just describing there being social pressure on you to not be a dick. And it's not a force, it's just life. Don't be a dick. Stone Corbell says, I swear this guy is deliberately trying to affect an Andrew Tate voice, which is just so sad. And Spongy Lord says, I must admit, part of why I watch content like this is it's therapeutic to know I haven't lost the plot quite as much as Chuds and conspiracy theorists. I may be struggling in life, but I've managed not to fall down these rabbit holes. Is that Schadenfreude? Schadenfreude is like the idea of taking joy in the painful consequences of others. So not quite, but related, I guess. Almost on a hype train on Twitch.
Forces of the status quo. So that really shows the contrast between the old internet, where it was very libertarian, and you could say what you want, total.
The old internet was full of people being shitbags. I'm sorry that your toy got taken away, where when other people showed up, you had to start acting like human beings again. Apologies.
Wild West, you know, ideas being expressed from completely schizoid, crazy shit, you know, in certain
That's not a positive.
forums to, you know, the left, the right, politically, it was a free-for-all.
That's not good.
And that gave the early internet a real sense of appeal. You know, it was very appealing to people who were free speech absolutists.
Like Nazis on 4chan. Gnome Pickles says, the same people who told us that we don't need characters that represent us in media are now upset that not everything in media is catering to them and their outlooks. Funny that. It's almost like they're hypocrites and we're just saying it to get people to shut up. Weird. Nemesaur, thanks for 10 tier 1 subs. I swear, you've been gifting 10 subs like every stream for the last, like, week. Just bonkers, thank you. You've been carrying the hype trains. I appreciate you.
People who wanted to explore fringe ideas. You know, it was great, and...
Fringe ideas, like ethno-nationalism. Hey, have you considered that, like, sure, you can point to some ideas that started out as fringe, but then turned out to be, like, good ideas, like, I don't know, heliocentrism. But then you look at ideas that are fringe, and most of them are, like, fringe for a good reason, like ethnocentrism. 25% to level 3 on the hype train.
Lost that. And we've lost that because now the internet is saturated with...
What are the odds this guy was upset about Kiwi Farms finally facing consequences? Oh, I'm sure he was furious. I think they still exist too. They just have a much smaller footprint.
Midwits who...
Midwits. That's my favorite new right-wing, that's my favorite new right-wing, like derogatory term they use. Because... they're not calling you a dumb person. You're a middle of the road person, and actually secretly, medium intelligence people are the stupidest of all, is basically what this insult means, and it is utterly bizarre. They took that meme, you know, the meme where there's the, IQ bell curve, and then there's the lower and higher end opinions, and they're the same, but in the middle is the dumb soy jack or whatever that has a majority opinion. They took that literally. H-Baird with 50 bits says, I'm 41 and I was there when the internet was young. Keeping racists out of forums and other spaces was a known requirement back in the 90s. None of the forums this guy was on, because they were the only ones he would get on, because he's probably the Nazi.
really have no beliefs of their own. I mean, you can define the left as basically being completely surface level. They are
ironic
children in a way, intellectually, and they literally will take...
Sir, you're discussing this while playing a fucking video game. Your entire, like, half your political worldview appears to be based on being mad about women in video games? Like, and you're calling the left children? How much of your worldview is based on video games you don't like? Because mine is 0.
Side of whoever is expressing the same ideas as their echo chamber. It's just a huge echo chamber where
the whole world is an echo chamber. Again, he's already saying this is the majority. How can a majority opinion be an echo chamber? You're in the echo chamber. Everyone else has just come to a different conclusion.
all you do is boost the signal of your side. There is no introspection, there is no critical thinking.
Oh my.
And it's incredibly stifling for freedom. I mean, you cannot be free on the internet anymore. And that's it.
What kind of freedom? What freedom specifically?
So insane that we've actually come to this in such a short time. Because the internet was almost the perfect expression of Western freedom, right?
Fuck.
It was a complete.
Does Western freedom not include people being allowed to be gay and women?
Completely unmoderated marketplace of ideas. But now, I mean, the left really have
The internet is that for the most part.
come in and taken.
4chan exists and it's full of shitbags. You know why 4chan isn't more popular? Because most people don't want to be around people who like to be on 4chan. That's it. That's the marketplace of ideas. You go on 4chan, everyone else goes elsewhere. Minute left on the hype train, 30% to level 3. Stone Corbell says it's really funny he's saying the left is surface level when the left contains most of academia. Going in depth is all they do.
Over and imposed their order onto the internet. And it's not a particularly rational order. It's not a worldview based in logic or truth. And it's very sad because all of the pioneers that saw so much potential in the internet are probably now either rolling in their graves or looking back on their lives and going, how did it come to this? The way it came to this was very simple. It's social media invited the hordes in. We invited the hordes in. And then, hey, guess what? The people that really set the tone, the people that craft the narratives, call them the elites, whatever you want to call them, the people.
Gnome Pickle says, yes, being a part of the left where I'm told I am both reading too much into what I consume and also am accused of not looking into what I support well enough.
That really are the ones in control of the direction of our miserable existences right now in this world. They decided that no, having free speech, having that kind of freedom, even though it's supposed to be a fundamental component.
There's no such thing as absolutist free speech. You can't slander people. You can't commit fraud with your speech. There are already limits. We're always discussing where the line is, but there is always a line.
Of the West. No, it's too dangerous to have that level.
And by the way, you have a First Amendment right to free speech. The government can't do anything. You're talking about private entities that you don't like.
Of freedom on the internet, even in a virtual space like the internet. And getting back to social media, so MySpace, the thing about MySpace that I actually thought wasn't cancerous was it was kind of a new idea, and it was highly customizable, highly modular. You had emo kids with their crazy HTML pages, and they were just, expressing themselves. In a way, it was symbolic of like a Western individualism.
So it's like the things you hate. Individualism includes things like being LGBTQ, being a woman who also wants to have a career or not have kids. Those are parts of individualism. What is wrong with you? Ugh. Fenigagami says, the left, famous for never infighting and blindly agreeing with each other.
Each page could look however you wanted it to look. Conformity was not a thing on MySpace. Absolutely chasing trends was, obviously, right? But it was a millennial thing. There was certainly an illusion of free expression on that platform. And it's very interesting how MySpace, 1 minute it was on top. It was the most popular thing ever. Everyone had one. And it was good for social networking too, in a grassroots way. Like, I played in a band in college and all of our shows were booked through MySpace. And there was something cool about it. But like Facebook comes along and you know how Facebook is. It's that sterile, just corporate, awful. It leaves a sickly taste in your mouth. Even when it first emerged, I found Facebook extremely unappealing, actually, in comparison to MySpace. And it sucked away all of that kind of grassroots. And
you gotta understand, at the time what was happening was that MySpace pages were getting so cluttered with people's custom like HTML stuff, backgrounds, auto-playing music, that people got incredibly overwhelmed in that period by how messy and like weird and gross people's MySpace pages looked. So Facebook came along. It had a much more streamlined, clean UI, and it picked up a lot of people, especially because it started with college students. When Facebook first started, you needed to have a .edu email in order to get an account. It became trendy, and from there, it of course grew into the monstrosity that is what it is today.
Energy that MySpace had, where you had multiple communities that were connecting, and it was really like there was something being built on top of that very rudimentary tech. Facebook comes along and kills that energy. And if there's anything I've noticed, it's that anything coming from the corporate manufactured mainstream.
MySpace was the corporate mainstream at one point. They were a large corporation.
It has a way of destroying communities and replacing that with just this monolithic, synthetic, paused culture.
Okay, so you don't like corporatism, maybe capitalism as a whole. Cool?
You know, and call it what you want. And the left are they're the ones that are actually making this happen. Screaming.
I'm sorry, did you just say the left or... Okay. Jesus Christ.
Into the void. Please, we want more censorship. We want less avenues of expression. Like, that's what's happening.
No, I don't want to have to get hate from, like, shitbags. That's about it.
But in a way, the left are the puppets of this corporate woke globo-homo force. Because these elites, they really do rely on the normie, the NPC. They need those people to just follow that carrot on a stick. You know, they simply are being puppeted, and that's the reason why things are so bad. That's the reason why almost every subculture in our society has been ruined. Thanks to the
almost every subculture?
NPCs. And who tells these people what to think? I think that's the fundamental question. Where are they getting these insane ideas from? The hoople heads, these plebeians, you know, they are fundamental to Clown World. You cannot have Clown World without the NPC.
Clown World is an anti-Semitic dog whistle for those who don't know.
And I guess the only way to fix things is to seize control of the media and by proxy the narrative, because the narrative being crafted right now is so insane and so cancerous. It's destroying everything worth two shits in our
You being upset that the world isn't as sexist as you isn't the world being destroyed.
Society. And that's how their rhetoric functions. It's very viral. It operates as kind of like a virus. I mean, hey, like
That's literally the marketplace of ideas. You can't say you're in favor of the marketplace of ideas and also find it suspicious that your ideological enemy's ideas spread quickly and well. That's how it works. Your ideas are bad. According to the people voting, which is everyone else, you lose.
Dawkins coined the term meme, right? And what is a meme? Well, it operates very similar to genes in terms of evolution, right? Like, memes are contagious. Memes are viral.
Yes, and the ones that people like and stick in their heads move on and continue and propagate, just like genes. It's not nefarious. This is literally what the marketplace of ideas is. Do you even know what that phrase means?
And the elites have understood this for a long time.
The elites.
I mean, that's what meme magic is, you know? Magic with
meme magic.
The J. And, yeah, I mean, we can never escape Clown World until we seize the means of meme production, right? Like, the media must be destroyed. The media must be destroyed. The academics.
Lugenpressen, the academics. Who have I heard this from before? Oof. Bet someone who had a heck of a struggle.
Must be ousted. Because then a new narrative could potentially be crafted by our guys, right? And the normies will eat it up because this is the nature of the normie.
He's literally just describing, hey, we need to have fascist propaganda in order to get people to be Nazis.
Memes. The DNA of the soul.
In the 50s, you ask a normie.
Yeah, after this, we're going to do a cleanse, and then we'll end for the night.
So what do you think about gay marriage? And they're like, fuck no, right? That was the consensus. And you ask them, well...
And then people met more gay people and heard, oh, all the things I've heard about them have been wrong. Oh, they should be able to get married. And then the positions people had changed on that. Shocking.
Why do you believe that? And they'll be like, well, because that's what everyone believes. So this idea that...
I don't think that's what people said, no.
That modern...
They had reasons. I don't think they were good reasons, but people would say to you, oh, I just think it's biblically wrong, or they think it's unnatural. Like, they would have some sort of thing in their pocket to say that justifies it to themselves, even if it's a bad justification.
Clown World moral...
I get the feeling this guy doesn't talk to anyone ever.
And this inverted, just Purim for the masses. Like, The idea that this is the be-all and end-all, the end of culture, right? Like, this is the supreme evolution of...
Who the fuck said that to you? That's not how anything works. There is no supreme evolution of culture. Culture is ever changing. It's not, there's no final form until everyone's dead. What are you talking about?
Everything.
As long as there are two people on the earth, there's culture. Like, it's just a thing that happens between people. It's social.
Culminating in human history, that this particular paradigm we're in now is somehow the best configuration of human society.
That's cool.
That's a joke. That's a complete joke. And yet that is probably what the average libtard on the street believes.
Oh.
They
weird ableist stuff too. Lovely.
believe that we've transcended everything, you know.
No, this is a weird straw man. What are you doing? Have you considered talking to someone?
We transcended the need for religion. We've transcended the need for gender norms. We've transcended the need for family, right?
Those things aren't all the same thing.
Freedom. Like, you know, the level of
transcended the need for freedom.
Hubris and the lack of introspection. It's
yes, he said Purim for the masses. He knows what he's doing.
Completely terrifying, and you know, it just shows you how the NPC is programmable, and they have been programmed to genocide themselves in a way, because the ultimate result of this type of lifestyle and worldview is destruction. It's oblivion. You're not laying down roots. You're not passing the torch on to a new generation. You're
Do you think that, like, people on the left don't have kids?
Succumbing to...
And even if they didn't, like, my parents were both right-wing. My dad's super right-wing. Do you think that, like, policies are genetic? Policy positions and morals? Captain Squid says, my dude, in the 50s, the consensus was also that black people had their own drinking fountains. Considering he's Nazi dog whistling, I'm gonna assume he doesn't have a problem with that. I'm assuming he's like that.
The entropy of the universe. And in that way, I mean, the left truly is the force of entropy made manifest politically.
What the fuck? This guy's fucked up. Jesus Christ. Alright, so let's find a cleanse so we can close out with not such a bad taste in our mouths, shall we? What are we gonna do?
I was actually in 4 of the Twilight films.
I'm Doctor Who!
Not anymore, baby!
What?
I was actually...
Hey, you.
I like D-makes, I think they're fun. Remember the time the Master danced to Rasputin? No, I actually haven't seen that episode. I haven't seen anything after... I haven't seen Flux or anything after it until the new David Tennant specials, so...
Be cool about fire safety.
Who are you?
Seymour Smoke. Smoke detector. The more smoke I see, the more noise I make. And I see more smoke coming from that toaster.
Oh my god. Thanks for warning us, Seymour.
That's my job. I hate smoke. It's disgusting. It gives me a headache. So whenever I see it or smell it, I make this noise to warn you.
Oh, I don't like that. That's gonna be burned in my subconscious for a while. That's a shame.
Oh, hey, this is the real party. If you want to join in, there's some more in the fridge.
How was school today? Okay. We started a special thing today in class because it's Drug Awareness Week. We learned that alcohol is a drug. Mom, I've seen you drink wine and Dad drink beer. Does that mean you take drugs?
Jimmy, there are all kinds of drugs. Some drugs are against the law for everyone because they can cause serious problems.
I've seen this before. But don't worry, alcohol's fine. It's bad. That weirdo was watching a Souls-like, given your penchant for noble, bright, Star Trek hopeful settings. How do you feel about such settings? Is that the same kind of settings as, like, the Soulsborne type games, where it's like a dark, weird, Victorian, old-timey, eldritch being, dark, evil vibe? I've not played those games, but from what I've seen of them, I think it's cool. I'm just too big of a noob to play them. Like, I like to play through games, and I don't mind doing things multiple times. You know, I don't want to walk through the game with no challenge, but I'm not a skilled gamer, so, like, I can't play Dark Souls. It's just not fun to me. But the setting looks cool. The gameplay just isn't my thing, but I get it. I get why people like it.
Whoa, wait! How did that happen? Where am I?
Who am I? What am I doing here? What are all you boys and girls doing here?
Hey, we must be in the jungle! Who's the king of the jungle? Jesus! That's right! Jesus is the king of the jungle!
Middle way up, middle way out. Middle way up, middle way out.
Cool music. Hello? Could you tell me if you have any boy band CDs?
Do you have any boy band CDs?
A lot of CDs. Come see for yourself.
I don't even think that's an unreasonable response. It's a CD store. Yeah, they have boy band CDs, probably.
Very groovy. Whoa, Draymond, you look cool.
Righto, Daddy.
Just me and my body, having some fun.
Dirty.
Your name is MC Porker?
That's right, dude.
And what is your occupation, Mr. Porker?
Well, call me MC.
Yo, 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 what's up, ham boy? Marky Mark is in the doghouse.
We do rap.
I beg your pardon?
Rap. It's like singing, but without the music.
You can't just make something into nothing.
Huh?
Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha. Did I do that?
Hi, kids. A leading cause of death, costing our society $132 billion a year. Caring people like you often hear pleas for help.
They want to sell us drugs!
There is nothing God can't fix with a new life, clean heart, living for the Lord. Great in heaven is my reward.
Well, Jesus fucking Christ. Alright. Let's see who we're gonna raid on Twitch. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I'll either be back tomorrow or the next day. I don't know if I'm gonna take tomorrow off or what. But I'll see you guys soon. Let's see who we're gonna raid. How about,
you know,
Jack?
Like just have like a little
Oh, of course. No need to thank me for the stream. It's my job. Thanks for viewing it, though. Appreciate it. Boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. Alrighty. Twitch people will be on their way for this raid in just a second. YouTube people, make sure you like the stream. I would appreciate it. And I think that's about it. Hope everyone has a great night. And, don't turn into a chud. Shouldn't be hard. Just don't be a dick. Don't hate people, just cuss. Alright. See y'all soon!